hits.
He flew back to Chicago just in time because now pre-Christmas travel is getting snarled by a massive storm. More than 1,200 flights canceled. Driving won't be easy either.
Snow's going to be blowing over, so we can get a street plowed and salted and cleared. You got wind gusts coming by. It's going to blow snow back over.
Michael Oglesby, Director of Transit in Detroit. The storm stretches from Montana and by tomorrow to the northeast. And it's also frigid. Fox Weather's Mitty Hicks is in Minnesota, where it's
-5 degrees, but it feels like -33. And I'll tell you guys, people here in Minneapolis, look, they're used to the snow. They're used to sub-zero temperatures, but this is just too cold for people. In fact, the National Weather Service is asking people to stay off the roads today and really just stay in the house.
Ukraine's president has thanked the U.S. and asked for even more help addressing a joint meeting of Congress.
Against all odds and doom and gloom scenarios, Ukraine didn't fall.
And Volodymyr Zelensky says they can defeat Russia. President Biden gave him and Ukraine new air defense, almost $2 billion in more aid. Congress could give $45 billion more in a massive spending bill that lawmakers are trying to approve by tomorrow. Sam Bankman-Fried flown back to the U.S. last night, expected in federal court today to face fraud and other charges in the collapse of the FTX crypto exchange into bankruptcy. Two of his associates, Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang, have pleaded guilty, and U.S. Attorney Damian Williams says,
if you participated in misconduct at FTX or Alameda, now is the time to get ahead of it. We are moving quickly, and our patience is not eternal.
We just got an update on the economy, showing more growth than expected last quarter. GDP grew 3.2%, higher than the 2.9% in the last government estimate. A lot of economists fear a recession could hit us next year. First-time unemployment claims rose slightly last week. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Stay safe at home and on the roads. It's cloudy and 37 downtown. A winter storm warning in effect for this afternoon. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:02. Blizzard warnings in effect for 4 northern Indiana counties. 7 to 12 inches of snow expected in those areas around the port and South Bend. Less so to the south here in Indy, though, but that doesn't make things less treacherous.
Late afternoon, early evening time frame, that's when the temperature is just going to basically fall off a cliff. It's going to be a dramatic decrease in temperature like we haven't really seen in quite a while.
Randy Bowers with the National Weather Service calls it a flash freeze. Any rain that falls today will freeze on roads, making them slippery and dangerous, he says. Governor Holcomb has activated the Indiana National Guard to help out with storm prep and response. Around 150 soldiers are ready to help. Highway workers and first responders keep people safe on Indiana's roads while the storm moves through. 12 men arrested as Indy police busted up a meth dealing ring. Parker Carlson.
Police say the group began their operation last year, smuggling drugs all the way from Nebraska to sell on the streets of Indianapolis. 12 men that were arrested all face several charges for dealing meth and fentanyl, but one man is in extra trouble for armed drug dealing as police found 28 guns. But inside stash houses on the north side, police say they seized 408 pounds of meth and over 17 pounds of fentanyl. Parker Carlson, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Senator Mike Braun is not endorsing anyone yet to take his seat in the Senate once he leaves to run for governor of Indiana.
I'd ideally like to get somebody that came from outside the farm system of politics, career politicians that normally staff us. That's where I came from.
He tells Fox News that Congress needs a real house cleaning as he feels it's difficult to get anything done. He also feels that he's better suited to achieve his goals as governor. Tyrese Halliburton led the Indiana Pacers with 33 points and knocking off one of the best teams in the NBA last night. The Pacers beat the Boston Celtics 117-112. The team heads to Miami next on Friday. Traffic on the 5s, Matt Baer.
All right, Kurt, we're looking at Rockville Road. That is reopening in Avon, US 36 from Shiloh Park over to Raceway Road. This is a big deal. It's been a long time construction, and I've been told the signage is a little bit off right now, so just be careful your first trip through and keep in mind there will be lane restrictions on and off throughout the winter time. Traffic sponsored by Indianapolis Men's Clinic. Guys, solve your ED today with an intimacy guarantee only at the Indianapolis Men's Clinic. If you don't perform, you don't pay. Call the Indianapolis Men's Clinic at 999-9000, 999-9000. I'm Matt Baer on the 5s at WIBC Traffic.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Hi, this is Danny Reinhardt from Reinhardt Heating and Cooling. From everyone in our family, Kevin, Kim, Corey, Stumpy, Brian, and Morgan, we would like to wish your family a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and please enjoy the holidays. If you do have any emergency services, don't forget to call us at 317-745-4526.
If you're out in Hendricks County, the family to call is Reinhardt Heating and Cooling, your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
Want to save 25 to 75% on your diamond? Come see Pierce Jewelers in Carmel before you spend your hard-earned money somewhere else. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
The forecast from the American Standard Heating Weather Center.
Winter storm warning through Friday. Cloudy, scattered showers changing to snow late today. 41 for your high. Heavy snow. Bitter cold temperatures overnight. Around 3 to 6 inches of accumulation expected. A low of -6. I'm Wish TV Storm Track 8 meteorologist Marcus Bailey, 93 WIBC.
38 and cloudy for now, but it'll get colder later this afternoon. I'm Kurt Darling on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
The Republican Party in Indiana sees zero problem in record spending, in record taxation.
And Casey Daniels.
You went out there and said, please vote for me. You debated other people on why you're the better person for the position. Suck it up.
This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Good morning. Today is Thursday, December 22nd. It is 7 minutes after 9. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob Kendall has the day off. And filling in, we have Guy Relford. The gun guy is here. Thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure to come see you, Casey.
You know what? When I left for work today, it was not raining, but now the rain has started, and eventually that rain is going to turn into snow. And we're going to get to Zelensky's dramatic visit to the U.S. in just a bit, but this is something that is going to affect all of us today. The winter storm warnings that have been issued for all of Indiana, starting at 3 o'clock this afternoon and going until 7 o'clock tomorrow night. So the current model trends say that the rain will transition to snow slightly around sunset this evening, and the heaviest snowfall will fall tonight. And there is a blizzard warning which is issued for the northern counties in Indiana near Lake Michigan, including South Bend. And I can't tell you how pleased I am that I don't have to deal with that blizzard warning. 25 years was enough. Snowmageddon.
That's just vindictive.
Hey, you know what? I did my time, Guy.
Okay,
I did my time.
You're saying you earned it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
But Snowmageddon, it's here. It's not only bringing snow, but cold. And I've been hearing reports that this front that is sweeping across the country is out on the West Coast right now, and it's making its way here, and the temperatures have dropped by 40 degrees in about a half an hour. So just prepare to be shut in for a few days. My internet provider actually sent me an email and said, don't be surprised if you lose service. And that's when you know it's going to be bad. When your internet provider says, we may not be there for you.
Yeah, you know what we did last night? I say we. My wife did most of the work while I was off doing other things at the office. But we moved about 3 days worth of firewood into the house, so it's going to be all nice and dry and ready to go.
Warm.
And so we've got a wood burning fireplace, so we are stocked up.
Mm-hmm. They're calling it a once in a generation storm, and advisory and warning everybody in the area that this could be a really rapid switch from rain to snow, and then freezing temperatures. So there could be ice and then single digits and flash freeze on Friday. Holcomb has activated 150 National Guard soldiers to serve as highway assistance teams, and the State of Emergency Operations Center will be activated. It already is. They activated it at 7 o'clock this morning, and they're saying that cold wind chills could be as low as 10 to 20 below. I don't mind the snow, but man, that cold, when it gets on your skin and just bites you, it's dangerous.
Yeah, no doubt. I'll tell you what, though, I like this idea of activating some of the National Guard as sort of roadside assistance. Because what else would give you more comfort? Let's say you're stuck off on the side of the highway, look in your rear view and see a big old camouflage Hummer H2 with a Ma Deuce on top rolling up with a tow chain. Hey, that would give me some real comfort. I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to thread the needle at some point with this storm because my daughter is at Purdue and she has just a little Nissan and she's supposed to work tonight at Tippecanoe Mall, and I'm kind of hoping that the mall says we're closing early so she can hit the road, or I can hit the road to go get her. And it's one of those, do I go tonight and get her while this is all happening, or do I try tomorrow morning after the snow falls? And it's like I said, I'm trying to thread a needle because my vehicle will be a little bit more dependable than hers because I can put it in 4-wheel drive.
Yeah, my theory on that typically on these is that I'll try to look at the forecast and decide when the precipitation ends, or at least dramatically falls off, and then give the road crews
time to clear
a few hours, get out there and get things cleaned up a bit, and then try to schedule my travel if I can for after that. So when's it over? When are the plows and salt trucks going to be on the road, and then what's a reasonable amount of time for them to have made some improvements? That's when I tend to hit the road at that time.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that they've pre-treated all the roads as well.
Yeah,
because
we'll
that will definitely help.
Yeah.
113 million people traveling over the holiday weekend. 70 million people are going to be under a wind chill alert, and a lot of flights have already been canceled, over 1,000 flights. And you know what? I heard you talking about something. Was it this weekend? It might have been this weekend during your show. You were talking about checking a gun if you're traveling at an airport. And I was fascinated by that. And I thought that would be something really interesting for everybody who's traveling, that we could get into that. So let's do that coming up. But first, we have to talk about this visit Ukraine's President Zelensky made to Washington, his first known trip outside of Ukraine since the Russian invasion began in February. He met with President Biden at the White House. He later addressed Congress. Lawmakers are set to vote on a $45 billion, spending package. Here you go. Here's our money. Biden also announced that the U.S. is going to send Patriot anti-missile batteries to help them. I was told at one point that takes American soldiers to operate, but they keep saying, no, you won't have American boots on the ground. But with this visit, Biden offers another $1.8 billion in financial help and these missiles, and Zelensky's initial reaction was, it's not enough. Let's listen to Biden as he lays out the plan.
To make it easier for the Department of Defense to procure critical munitions and defense materials for Ukraine and other key materials to strengthen our national security. Today, I'm announcing the next tranche of our security assistance to Ukraine. $1.85 billion package of security assistance that includes both direct transfers of equipment that Ukraine needs, as well as contracts to supply ammunition Ukraine will need in the months.
Okay, so a lot going on here, and there's been positive and negative response from this. Biden tried to give a statement to the Ukrainian people, and like always, he just bumbled right through it. And no matter how important this moment is on the international stage, what does our president do? He mucks it up. Good to know that he can deliver like he does every other day.
To Ukrainian people, I say to them all, you have demonstrated, you've shown your strong stand against aggression in the face of the imperial appetites of autocrats who wrongfully believe they might be able to make might right, and they're not able to do it. Thus far, they've stood alone, and you haven't stood alone. You have had significant help.
Yeah, significant help.
Man, I'll tell you what.
100 billion significant helps.
It's been going on now for years since he's been in office. But every time that guy speaks publicly on important issues, he embarrasses this country. He just embarrasses it. And and sometimes he loses track. He can't find his words. Sometimes he does crazy things like turn around and try to shake hands with imaginary people. Didn't he sound intoxicated in that? I mean, he's slurring his words. His words all run into each other. And I'm not suggesting for a minute he was actually intoxicated. It's just the state of his mental decline. And he cannot enunciate. He can't put together a cogent sentence. And it's gotten to the point where it is embarrassing this country on the world stage. And our enemies are watching this. That's what's scary to me. Every time I see that, he's speaking to the Ukrainian people. And I'm sure a lot of people watch that and think, boy, I bet he wasn't very inspiring to the Ukrainian people. Well, that's absolutely true. I'm thinking about what the leaders of China think when they watch. I'm thinking about what the leaders of North Korea think, or Putin himself for that matter. Our enemies are watching that because he projects an image of weakness for this entire country. He's the commander-in-chief, he's the president, he's the so-called leader of the free world, and when he stands up and embarrasses himself like that and can't put together an intelligible sentence, much less enunciate simple words, he's embarrassing this country, and I think he imperils this country. I think it's dangerous for America to have such a weak, incompetent leader. Excuse me, and it scares me. It scares me because the weakness of America simply means our enemies are stronger.
Well, you had mentioned China's watching, North Korea's watching.
Yeah.
When Zelensky was speaking in Congress, and we'll get to that coming up, you got to know Putin was watching. I mean, he's talking to the American people. He's talking to the Congress people. He's talking to the Ukrainian people, but he's also talking to Putin. And Victoria Spartz here in Indiana got some flack because she didn't clap enough. And we're going to get to the standing ovations that Zelensky got and everything. It's on the way from 93 WIBC. Good morning.
We do have that winter storm watch in place from Indianapolis and points northward. The winds are going to be whipping on Thursday.
When the weather turns wicked.
We're still really concerned about the wind chills.
Brutally cold temperatures.
And has real-life consequences. Staying informed can make all the difference.
Rain, snow, gusty winds.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
The temperatures drop dramatically overnight Thursday into Friday morning.
Whiteout conditions possible.
93 WIBC.
Hi, this is Mark Chester from Marshall Mechanical. On behalf of Eric Marshall and our whole team at Marshall Mechanical, we would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you have a home heating emergency during the holidays, please feel free to give us a call at 317-738-5940 or find us online at callthemarshallnow.com.
Marshall Mechanical is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick Weight Loss Hypnosis Seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great.
Seminars January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss 5:30, stop smoking 8 p.m. Or January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
The countdown to the new year has begun, and there's still time to invest in your child's or grandchild's future education with Indiana College Choice 529 savings plans. Open an account and make a contribution by December 31st, and you could receive a 20% Indiana state tax credit worth up to $1,000. Giving is receiving. Open an account and contribute today. Visit collegechoicedirect.com/plans and read the disclosure booklet carefully before investing.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. Also, lose all the weight and let Mark Patrick Hypnosis destroy your unwanted cravings. Seminars January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss 5:30 p.m., stop smoking 8 p.m. Or January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, Call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Pierce Jewelers has a spectacular array of diamond earrings, diamond pendants, diamond rings, and diamond bracelets. They shop the world to bring you the very best. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
It's the Kendall and Casey Show.
Now, I found that a hit record is like a stew. All the ingredients have to cook together just right. Otherwise, it's just soup.
On 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is 20 minutes after 9. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob Kendall has the day off, and Guy Relford is sitting in today. So let's continue on talking about the big event that happened last night with the Congress, and that was that President Zelensky from the Ukraine was speaking. And during the speech, he was welcomed by numerous ovations. Just couldn't get enough. He received 18 standing ovations during the speech, and Republican Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, who's likely going to be the next Speaker of the House, he stood and clapped along with everybody else at nearly every single interval. Some of the other guys, Jim Jordan, Matt Gaetz, Lauren Boebert, they stood for about half of the ovations, but they still clapped. Gaetz at one point looked like he was on his phone throughout part of the speech, and he was actually showing something to Lauren Boebert and smiling about something, so kind of had half of his attention. But I've noticed that Victoria Spartz from Indiana is getting a little flack because she didn't clap. When he left, her head was kind of down, and some people are thinking, and she's from Ukraine.
Absolutely.
So some people are saying she didn't give him enough support.
Well, I got to tell you, I mean, I've gotten to know Victoria Spartz a little bit. I've seen her recently at a couple of different events, and I've talked to her a little bit about some of these issues. And I got to tell you, in my mind, the entire country, including Congress, ought to be looking to Victoria Spartz for guidance on these issues, particularly when it comes to Ukraine. And look, I could never speak for her in a million years, and I wouldn't endeavor to do so. But I can speculate a little bit about what was going through her head. I think she had two different things going through her head. One is, as she said publicly, and she caught a lot of heat for this. In fact, she was called on Twitter, I believe it was, called Putin's puppet, because she came out at one point after another one of these massive Ukraine spending bills came out, and we're sending these billions and billions and billions of dollars into Ukraine. And all she came out and she said, I want to know how much oversight there is on where this money is going once it arrives in Ukraine. I want to know how much due diligence we're doing on making sure that the American taxpayers' money is actually going to the arms and the training and the logistical support of the troops on the ground, and doing what our government is telling us it's going to do, as opposed to winding up in the hands of corrupt politicians.
Right.
And she said, I'm fine with supporting Ukraine, but keep in mind, these are not good people necessarily. We're on their side in the war with Russia, and I get that. And we want to stop Russian aggression, and I get that. But what we don't want to do is fund a bunch of corrupt politicians in Ukraine. And Ukraine has had a long history of corruptions. Who was it that put Hunter Biden on a board of a petroleum company and paid him gazillions of dollars simply for access to the United States government and our vice president at the time? That was Ukraine. That's who we're talking about. Okay, so we've got a lot of corrupt people in Ukraine, and Victoria Spartz is saying let's have some oversight. And she was probably, and she knows these people. She's from Ukraine. You know, she understands the culture. She understands the government. She understands the personalities and the people. And again, I'm purely speculating. I would never speak for Victoria Spartz. But if she's sitting there and not clapping a lot, she's probably thinking to herself, I know where a lot of this money is going to go, and it's not going where the rest of these people think it's going to go. Secondly, she also would understand, because she's one of the few in Congress as Republicans who has on occasion stepped up and said, I want to get in the way of this runaway spending that this government continues to engage in.
Are you talking about the $1.7 trillion
omnibus bill? The
$1.7
trillion omnibus spending bill.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm going to talk about Saturday, also has $10 billion in it for gun control, and I'll get into that on Saturday. But at any rate, so the context of the discussion was not just, hey, we're here to support Zelensky in Ukraine. It was not about this additional $1.8 billion now we want to spend, but that's on top of that. I think it was $46 billion that's in the omnibus spending bill for Ukraine. And Zelensky was here trumping for that.
Yeah.
Stumping for that as well. And so he was here saying, you really need the subtle, not so subtle underlying message here was you need to support the omnibus spending bill, all 1.7 trillion of it, or else you're turning your back on Ukraine.
Right. The timing is very interesting, isn't it?
It is. And so they're dangling this carrot in front of Congress to say, oh, golly gee, here's this great guy Zelensky. He's a freedom fighter. He's standing up to Russian aggression. We need to support him, and we need to support the omnibus spending bill that has all this other crap in it, as you and Rob went through yesterday.
Yeah.
And I heard you on Hammer and Nigel's, the reason I know that. And so all this other incredibly overspending is in this bill, but you got to vote for it.
Right, because if you don't, that means you're against liberty.
Exactly
and you're for dictatorship and communist regimes.
Exactly right. It's a used car salesman technique. You need this little thing over here, so you got to buy the whole car.
Yeah.
And that's what was going on in Congress. And so, again, I can't speak for Congresswoman Spartz in any way, shape, or form, but if she's not real enthused about this, I would guess it's for those two reasons.
Yeah. And what about at the end of the speech with the Ukrainian flag? Did that rub you the wrong way?
Yeah, I don't think any flag should ever be flown in the United States Congress under the United States flag. And look, I hope Ukraine wins, and I'm all against the Russian invasion. But I don't think any flag should ever fly in the United States Congress except our flag.
And how does this end? I mean, at one point, what's the end game here? Who is Zelensky? Who's getting all of this money? How does it end? Because if we quote win, who's going to replace Putin?
Right. Yeah.
And what does that mean for us?
Well, that's right. It's really
all of this money we're funneling over there. How beholden is Ukraine going to be to us forever?
Well, it's a really important point, Casey, and I'm glad you raised it because a couple of issues. One is, anytime the United States government spends money that is the United States taxpayers' money, they ought to consider that an investment. And anytime you make an investment, you ought to be asking what the return on investment is. Right? I mean, you don't just go invest in a mutual fund or buy a stock without some anticipation of what you expect to get in return. And when the United States government, there's not enough of this accountability, there's not enough thinking in these terms, they ought to be considering it an investment. And what I've never heard anyone enunciate in any way is what is the return on investment for the billions and billions of dollars that we're sending into Ukraine. If it's simply because we don't like Vladimir Putin and we want to stop Russian aggression, at the same time you have to say, all right, how is that good for the American people if we win? What's the end game? Exactly as you phrased it. And one of the 7 habits of highly effective people, begin with the end in mind. What's the end? What's the logical outcome that's good for the American people?
Right.
Whether it's politically or economically or otherwise, what is it that's good for the American people as a result of Congress spending this kind of crazy money in Ukraine? And I've never heard an answer to that question.
And I don't think it's lost on anybody. And we got to get to break because I know Kurt Darling is sitting by ready for the news. It's not lost on anybody that we're sending all of this money to another country to protect their borders, and yet ours are not.
That's an incredibly powerful point.
Yeah. It's 9:28. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
If you run a small business, you need the most from every investment. That's why Comcast Business gives you more. Like more innovation with our new gig speed Wi-Fi, plus unlimited data. More speed from the largest, fastest, reliable network for small businesses. And more savings, up to 60% a year with Comcast Business Mobile. All from the company that powers more businesses than any other provider. When you need more, you need Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with internet and advanced security for just $40 per month for 12 months with no annual contract when you add mobile. Plus, ask how to get a $750 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Ends 1/1/2023. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary. Compare pricing of top carriers. Requires EcoBill and AutoPay. Comcast Business Internet required. New Comcast Business 100 megabits per second internet and security edge customers only. Equipment taxes and other fees extra and subject to change. Must add mobile within 90 days of internet install and keep services for 12 months for discount. Results vary. Not an endorsement.
Gather near and bring the cheer this holiday season. Dazzle and delight the love of your life with a gift from Helzberg Diamonds. Don't miss great prices on stunning diamond studs, tennis bracelets, gemstone rings, and the year's must-have look, gold jewelry for stacking and layering. There's still time to gift and save. Get half-carat total weight diamond studs for $399.99, a savings of $300. Visit Helzberg.com or a store near you. Limited time offer while supplies last. See online or in-store for details.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Stay indoors. It's cloudy and 38 for now. I'm Kirk Darling. Here's what's trending at 9:30. That's the message from Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett ahead of this week's winter storm.
But if you plan to travel, plan ahead. Temperatures will remain safe until late Thursday.
But if you're out after that, you're putting your health at risk. The Department of Public Works will have dozens of trucks ready to plow roads, and warming centers will be open for anyone without heat. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke to Congress last night.
Zelensky touting his country's strength against Vladimir Putin's forces, crediting U.S. support, notably speaking in English, which is rare for the president.
You have succeeded in uniting the global community to protect freedom. Europe is now stronger and more independent than ever.
Before his speech, Zelensky met with President Biden at the White House. Biden reaffirming his vow to support the war-torn country.
Fox's Jackie Ibanez. And now the stock report. We are in the red big time to close out the trading week. The Dow is down 224 to 33,345. The Nasdaq down 138 to 11,196. And the S&P 500 is down 34 to 3,871. I'm Kirk Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Food insecurity issues are at the center of many families' conversations. Nearly 800,000 Hoosiers and 1 in 6 children go hungry each night. Indiana's pig farmers are committed to giving back to their communities by donating millions of pounds of pork to local food banks, church pantries, and feeding programs. Pig farmers are committed to raising a safe, nutritious product that's available to the tables of families in Indiana communities. Learn more at porkcares.org. Brought to you by Indiana's pig farmers.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
So the shooter had a laptop and a cell phone. Good morning. It is 9:32. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob has the day off, and Guy Relford is here. All right, Guy, this is your area. So let's talk about the Greenwood Mall shooter. He had a cell phone. Cops were hoping it would lead to his motive. It didn't produce any, and so I'm curious. How often do we see manifestos or get answers, and why? I mean, I understand the curiosity, the desire to know. But do we ever really get an answer in a situation like what happened at the Greenwood Mall?
Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes we do. And, we have had people leave behind manifestos. A lot of times they're rambling and somewhat incoherent, but at least you can decipher what was driving this person in the sense of, were they a racist? Were they a homophobe? Were they a supporter of Al-Qaeda? We saw that at the Pulse nightclub shooting in Orlando, where he was anti-gay, and he was also supposedly a follower of Al-Qaeda and did that in the name of Al-Qaeda. So that there are some things there. Theoretically, if law enforcement can identify a motive that may help them look for other people with similar motives, it may help them theoretically stop another mass shooting in the future. I think it's more than anything for closure. I think just the community is curious, the families, the victims are curious. Why did my loved one die?
Yeah.
Why did this person kill my loved one? I mean. I would have an interest in knowing an answer to that question if I were a member of the victim's family. I don't know that if closure is the right word, but at least answering some of those otherwise unanswered questions has a value. And what was going on, and the reason there was just a press conference yesterday by Greenwood Police Chief James Eisen, who, by the way, is a is an excellent cop, and he's done an excellent job throughout a very difficult circumstance around this Greenwood Park Mall shooting. And I really have a lot of respect for him, and his deputy chief is also an outstanding individual, and Jay Arnold is his name. And at any rate, the reason they had this press conference yesterday, and the reason they had it 5 months after the shooting was July 17th of this year. Well, what was going on, and you alluded to this as you opened the story, and that is that they wanted to essentially announce the results, the conclusion of their investigation. And they couldn't do that without getting as much information as they possibly could, both off the bad guys. And I don't use these guys' names. I don't, mass shooters.
Yeah, no, I haven't said his name
They're after
either.
notoriety. And this guy was infatuated with mass shootings. He was a student of mass shootings. I mean, that came out through the investigation and essentially going through the guy's social media posts.
Well, right. That they found that he liked talking about tactics and motives and details of other mass shootings.
Exactly. How many occurred in a gun-free zone, because you don't expect to get an armed resistance in a gun-free zone. And what was interesting about his social media is he wasn't necessarily advocating mass shootings. He wasn't expressing admiration for mass shooters, and that's why it never really tipped law enforcement off. He was just more or less a student of them. He was also apparently infatuated with Nazi Germany, and he had usernames and email addresses that talked about the Greater Third Reich and crazy stuff like that. But he wasn't so much advocating or expressing admiration, so it didn't tip off law enforcement. But at any rate, the conclusion of the investigation, which was announced yesterday, it happened because they wanted to draw the investigation to a close to a large degree. They also wanted to announce what they did or didn't get off the electronic devices of the bad guy, the shooter. And
apparently he threw his cell phone in a toilet.
Yeah, his cell phone was in the toilet for an hour during the shooting and before, because this guy sat in a bathroom for an hour in the Greenwood Park Mall before he emerged from the bathroom and started shooting. They were able to dry out and start the cell phone. The laptop had been placed in an oven with a can of butane in the guy's apartment. Oh, wow. And the oven heated up enough where the butane exploded and it destroyed the hard drive. They couldn't get anything off the computer. But they were able to dry out and start the phone, except it's an iPhone and it's encrypted. They can't open it.
And so there's like a million different
literally a million
passwords.
different combinations to open it up. It's hooked up to a program that randomly or sequentially feeds in these different combinations, but there's over 1 million potential combinations. And once you feed 4 wrong ones in, the phone shuts down. Yeah. So you got to restart the phone and start over. This can literally take 2 or 3 years. Oh, wow. They finally said, look, it's gone on long enough. And it was a newer phone. They didn't think there was going to be that much on it. And they got so much information off his social media. They said, hey, let's announce the conclusion. Let's give some explanations, if not closure, to the families. And they also wanted to announce that even though my client, Elijah Dickin, used deadly force, right, and took the bad guy's life, that there would obviously not be any charges against him, that not only was he acting lawfully under Indiana's self-defense law that also includes the right to defend others, but also that he's a hero. And they regularly praised him during the investigation, and they certainly did multiple times during the news conference yesterday at the Greenwood Town Center, City Center, that he's a hero. And in fact, at one point, one of the reporters there said, well, what do you say to the people of Greenwood? I mean, how can we feel safe when we go out in public or even go to the mall, here during Christmas shopping? And the chief said, Chief Eisen said, I think something very poignant. He said, listen, these things can happen anywhere. They're very rare events, but yes, it happened here. He said, you can't walk around in fear. You have to live your life. Yeah. And cops can't be everywhere at the same time. And then he said, and sometimes what you really need is an Elijah Dickin who's there, who's willing to take heroic action to save lives. And that meant a lot to me that he said that.
Now, you spoke at the press conference, and we're going to share that later in the show. But I wanted to mention the T-shirt that you're wearing right now. Right, it says 15 seconds, be like Eli.
Yeah, well, as the police have announced multiple times, the time from when the bad guy emerged from the bathroom and started shooting, and he killed 3 innocent people. And I don't ever want to lose sight of the fact, when people are saying, wow, Eli did this great job, which he did, and Eli's a hero and saved lives. Well, he did. At the same time, I also want to acknowledge the 3 innocent people lost their lives that day, and we all ought to be cognizant of that and keep them in our thoughts. At the same time, within 15 seconds after the shooting started, Eli realized what was going on, drew his firearm, engaged the threat, and neutralize the threat. 15 seconds. And that sounds, in a lot of training classes, I'm out where, we're trying to draw a gun and get a shot on target in a second or less. And people say, well, 15 seconds. You're sitting in a mall having dinner with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
People are screaming, shots are ringing out. To acclimate to what's going on, get yourself in a position to take shots effectively, and end a threat, starting at a distance of 43 yards away.
Okay, and you said you saw the video.
I did yesterday,
finally.
yeah. And other than law enforcement, I'm the only one who's seen the video. And police wanted to show it to me because they wanted me to be able to convey to Eli their thoughts, and they wanted him to know exactly what is on the video. I mean, they showed it to me not for my information, is so I can relay information to Eli as his attorney, and it's amazing to me. I mean, I'm an instructor. I have been for 30 years. I take a lot of training every year. I've taken 4 different tactical training courses this year alone.
You said that even his feet were in the right.
Everything was right. Everything was right. And the police, when I first told him, or Eli actually first told him that he had no formal training, their mouths all just dropped open. Because you watch this thing, and he looks like a member of SEAL Team 6. He does everything right. He engages from cover, meaning he's protected. He braces against a tall mall shot can, so his shot trash can, tall trash receptacle. So, but he braces so that his gun is steady and he's that much more accurate. He advances on the target in exactly the right way after he emerges from cover when he couldn't. He didn't have a shot from where he was because the shooter had moved, trying to get back into the bathrooms. Everything he did was right. Everything he did looked like a member of a SWAT team, and it was really fascinating because he has no formal training whatsoever. And my only explanation, and I've said this to the media, I said it during the press conference yesterday, the hand of God was on this young man. There's no other explanation.
Somebody was looking out.
Yeah.
Okay,
no doubt.
So are you going to sell these T-shirts? 15 seconds, be like Eli. Is this?
Well, yeah. We're doing some fundraising both for Eli himself, and also Eli is a big supporter of the Second Amendment and gun rights, and so we have a gun rights organization that I actually started here in Indiana. It's a nonprofit. It's called the 2A Project. And we're kind of splitting the proceeds. We haven't offered them up for sale yet. We didn't want to do that while the investigation was still pending.
But now that it's over.
We're going to get him out there. We're going to get Eli some of the support that he needs, financially and otherwise. And then, and we're going to raise some money for the 2A Project so that other people can be in a position to lawfully carry a firearm and defend themselves and others exactly like Eli did. Without the Second Amendment rights that we have here in Indiana, he couldn't have done what he did to save those lives, and we don't want people to lose sight of that.
Okay, so there's been this article that came out yesterday in the Indiana Capital Chronicle, and it's talking about gun sales throughout the state of Indiana, and are they up, are they down? We're going to get into it next on 93 WIBC.
Coming up on the Hammer and Nigel show, Rob Kendall is on vacation, but he'll be kind enough to call in and go off the rails. He shared some exciting personal news yesterday. We'll get into that. It starts at 3 o'clock, 93 WIBC.
The latest local news. Commentary from Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey,
5.6%.
Hammer and Nigel. Podcasts. Listen to the station live whenever, wherever. Online at WIBC.com.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. And owner Chris Wettigan sells the Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, a great option for heating and cooling where ductwork can't be installed.
If you have one of those homes that has baseboard heat or electric heat, ceiling cable heat, these can be specifically designed for those houses because in those houses it's very difficult having to do all the construction and remodeling that goes with adding ductwork into those types of homes.
Find out more by going to AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
Hey, good morning. It's Casey, and I'd like to share with you some reviews from Galaxy Concrete Coatings of Indianapolis. Deb said, wanted to say what a beautiful and awesome job Tyler and Jake did in our garage and backyard patio. I can't even say how impressed we were with their workmanship and friendliness of both of them. The garage is amazing, and the backyard patio will be a great addition to the house. Trust Galaxy. They're amazing. And Deb made a good point. You can trust them. Galaxy Concrete Coating, 317-751 888-937-9070. Find them online, get a free quote. It's not as expensive as you may think. GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com.
AES Indiana is dedicated to providing you with smart energy solutions that power our lives. Our energy efficiency programs help you save energy and money, from rebates on lighting and smart thermostats to appliance pickup and recycling. You can take advantage of cleaner, more cost-effective energy solutions right here, right now. To get more information on how to save money on your energy bill this winter, visit aesindiana.com. AES Indiana. We are accelerating the future of energy together.
Is your home really ready for the holiday season? As you're putting up your Christmas decorations this year, pay attention to your home siding. There are lots of new vibrant siding colors out there, and new siding can give your home a much-needed facelift. Moss Roofing offers James Hardy siding that comes with a 15-year warranty. It's low maintenance, and it will give your home the durability it deserves this winter and many winters to come. Not only will you get great curb appeal from James Hardy siding, you won't have to think about the siding on your home for a long, long time. And that's a pretty great gift for the holiday season. Moss Roofing is a family-owned and operated business with over 25 years of serving Central Indiana. Moss Roofing experts offer residential and commercial roofing repairs and replacements, gutters, and insulation services. Call Moss Roofing today. 317-527-4393. 317-527-4393. Or visit mossroofing.com. That's MOSS. mossroofing.com. mossroofing.com.
The latest local news, commentary from Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey,
5.6%.
Hammer and Nigel,
Biden.
podcasts. Listen to the station live whenever, wherever, online at WIBC.com.
Later on, we'll conspire as we dream by the fire.
Good morning. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob has the day off, and Guy Relford is here. And yesterday, they wrapped up the Greenwood Mall shooter case. And we've been talking about that. But there was also this new report that came out from the Indiana Capitol Chronicle that says Hoosiers purchased an estimated 42,305 guns in November of this year. And that was a 1% decline from the previous month. However, year over year, we're at about a 1% increase. And it seems that we've been on a bit of just an increase, a consistent, steady increase, a little bit of a spike around 2020, but it's still kind of a steady increase. Mm-hmm. And do you think, is this all because of defund the police movements? And
well, it's been really a steady uptick since the beginning of the Obama administration. And when you run a graph, or you look at the graphs of gun purchases per year, everyone's been very concerned. Everyone was very concerned for the 8 years of Obama, because he kept saying, we're going to ban assault weapons. Mm-hmm. We're going to, restrict Second Amendment rights in all these different ways. And he wasn't ever able to do that politically. But when Americans are told their rights are going to go away, they'll want to go out and exercise those rights before they can be taken, taken away. And so that was part of it. And then running up to the 2016 election, a lot of people were very concerned that the polls were right and Hillary Clinton was going to be elected president. And she made no bones about it. She was very clear during the campaign. Here's all the things I'm going to do to restrict gun rights. This is a candidate for president who said that she didn't think the Second Amendment even gave an individual right to bear arms to American citizens, that it was limited to the military or members of the National Guard. That is the well-regulated militia part of the Second Amendment. Yeah. And, of course, the Supreme Court has rejected that, but that was Hillary Clinton's view. And so when she was looking like our next president, a lot of people ran out and bought guns. And then every time a bill gets introduced, there's an assault weapon ban this Congress that's been passed in the House. And, in fact, a bunch of of politicians are urging the Senate to take it up before Congress ends, which is just in a day or so, including our own beloved Joe Hogsett here. I was one of a couple of dozen mayors that sent a letter to Congress saying, pass the assault weapon ban, take it up in the Senate so we can get it past this Congress before Republicans take over the House. And I don't think that's going to happen. But when Americans see those bills being introduced, they see them passing the House or otherwise, what do they want to do? They're going to say, well, I want to exercise my right before it's taken away.
Right.
Or if they're going to ban certain firearms,
Yep.
if I want that firearm, I'm going to go buy it now. And this happens year after year. What was really interesting is from the middle 90s up through about 2000, that every year we increased gun sales. It was pretty much linear, but every year we had decreasing homicides in America. It was really interesting. There was an direct inverse relationship between gun sales going up and murders going down. And you could track it, and it was really interesting. Murders have had an uptick, and we've had a swing up on violent crime generally, but murder specifically, since about 2000. And I relate that directly to defund the police, police being attacked, the whole order of society is attacked in my mind when we attack the police. A lot of people, I think, have been emboldened to go out there and commit crimes. And so we've had an uptick in murders the last couple of years. I think that's from the violence of 2020 and the defund the police movement. So we've seen a little bit of a hockey stick effect at the end of that graph. We're talking about declining murders. But at the same time, it's all very linear for the most part, and increased gun sales I attribute to more and more people deciding simply to take responsibility for their own safety, the safety of their own homes, the safety of their own families. And in no small part to stories like Greenwood Mall. Because if people ask themselves, what would I have done if I'd been sitting in that food court and a guy walks out of the bathroom with an AR shooting me and my family, or others around me, how would I react? What capability would I have to defend myself? And I personally wouldn't forgive myself if I had the ability, legally and otherwise, to defend my family, defend other innocent people around me, and I didn't avail myself of that opportunity. I couldn't live with that. And a lot of people have decided that they feel the same way.
So this report says that the majority of guns being purchased by both Americans and Hoosiers were handguns. 61% for Americans, and Hoosiers 64%, more popular than long guns.
Yeah, because you can carry one with you. I carry a gun everywhere I can lawfully carry a gun, and most people don't look at me and say, "Oh, I bet that guy's carrying a gun," because I carry concealed. That's what a handgun allows you to do. That's what Eli Dicken was doing in the Greenwood Mall that allowed him to save literally dozens of lives. And so, yeah, they're always going to be more popular. At the same time, for whatever reason, long guns, including the AR platform, they get a lot of political heat. Again, there's a so-called assault weapon ban. I hate that term. It's a made-up political term meant to demonize the largest class and most popular class of American long guns in history. But when people see those potentially going away, then yeah, they're going to go buy those too. But handguns are always going to outpace long guns on sales.
And that's what people mostly check when they go to the airport. So you were talking about this, 113 million people traveling over the weekend, and some of them maybe getting on planes, and you are allowed to take your gun with you, but you have to check it when you're at the airport. So you are the expert in this. So if there's somebody traveling and they want to do that, let's take everybody through the process, how that works.
Sure. No, I mean, I do this all the time because I go to a lot of training classes out of state. And I've been to 2 this year. I went out to Gunsight in Arizona, I think the premier training facility in the world, and I took an AR and a pistol. And so what it is you can declare an unloaded gun in your checked bag. It has to be in a locked, hard-sided container. And when they say hard-sided, they mean it. If they can pry open one end of it and see the gun, or even come close, they're going to reject it. Locked is going to be with a padlock, typically. There are combination locks that you can potentially put a handgun in, but it has to be locked in some way. I like using a padlock with a key because you go up to the ticket counter where you check bags, and you say, I want to declare an unloaded gun in my checked bag. They then make you open it up right there at the baggage counter, which can be entertaining. I mean, here I open this big custom case I have made for a rifle and a pistol, and there's an AR-15 and a pistol, and I've got a whole group of people standing behind me who are watching me opening these things up. By the way, last time I did it was just in November, and there was a lady standing behind me, and as I opened this thing up, she could see my rifle and my pistol. She goes, I don't want to go on that flight. And immediately from right behind her, I hear a guy go,
Yeah, I do.
I do.
Yeah, exactly.
But at any rate, they used to, years ago, and I'm so glad they changed this, years ago, the person behind the ticket counter who takes your checked bag used to check your gun to make sure it's unloaded. I mean, it drove me crazy because this person could be working at the airport, for like 3 days. Now suddenly they're checking my AR-15.
They used to be directing traffic out in the parking lot.
Yeah,
and now they're behind
exactly.
the counter.
Now they're clearing my 1911 handgun. Are you serious? But now they have you sign this placard, a little red card. It says, I declare, under penalties for perjury, this gun's unloaded. You sign that. They put it right in the case with your gun. They have you relock it. Then it disappears on the carousel. Then they give you a little piece of paper that says, I have declared an unloaded gun in my checked bag. When you go to security, that first person who wants to see your boarding pass and your ID, you give that to them.
Okay.
You go through security, expect to get a extra little love and affection going through security. You get through security, then there's a TSA kiosk right on the other side of the x-ray machine and the magnetometer. You go back to them and say, hey, I've declared a gun in my bag. They say, wait here. And they get on the phone and they talk to somebody back behind closed doors. I think they're x-raying your case. That's my speculation. But I think they're trying to see if they can tell whether the gun's unloaded from an x-ray. And typically they can't. So now they need your key or the combination. So that's why I like having a key. I keep it around my neck as I'm traveling. I hand them my key. They disappear. They can be gone a while. So you need to allow yourself a lot of extra time. They eventually come back and say, okay, you're good to go. Go get on your flight.
Traveling with you must take much longer than the average person.
It does. Yeah, I get to the airport obscenely early, either because I'm carrying guns and I have to allow for that process, or because I like having several cold beers in an airport when I'm traveling, or both. You never know. But no, that's how the process works. What's interesting though, and we can certainly talk about this, and we don't have a lot of time, but is a lot of people forget there are guns in their carry-on, and that leads to a whole nother problem, and I represent those people regularly.
Because they forgot to declare it.
Well, and because you can't take it through security. It has to go in your checked bag. So that bag's gone. You don't have anything to do with that bag until you pick it up at your destination. What people either do, and I can't believe many do it intentionally, most people, and I represent these people all the time, they've got a gym bag or a backpack or a briefcase that they carry a gun in. They get a quick trip that comes up. A lot of times people travel for business. So a lady gets a call from her boss saying, hey, we need you in Chicago tomorrow. Okay, I'll go run to the airport, throw some underwear in a bag, right? Yep. And run to the airport, forgetting that
it's there.
Stainless revolver.
That happened to me
is in
with
your
pepper
backpack.
spray.
Yeah,
I had some pepper spray connected to a duffel bag, forgot about it, got up to the counter. I realized, and the guy looked at me and said, go take it back out to your car.
Yeah, and now
I did that.
And now if that's a handgun, that's a crime. That's a Class A misdemeanor, and they will potentially arrest you and take you through the legal process.
It's 9:56. It's a Kendall and Casey show on 93 WIBC, and that is Guy Relford sitting in today. Thank you for listening.
We'll have lots of fun with Mr. Snowman. Yes, until the other kiddies knock him down.
Updated COVID vaccines are here, just in time for the season that brings us all closer. Just in time for added protection against the original COVID virus and Omicron. Just in time for crowded stores and great big family dinners. Updated COVID protection is here. And if you haven't had a vaccine since September, it's time to give yourself the gift of updated protection. Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Planning for retirement all comes down to what matters most for you. Is it a vacation home? Is it traveling the globe? You could call the team at Howard Bailey Financial to help you plan for your retirement and to help you have a successful and fulfilling retirement. Great things in business are never done by one person. They're done by a team of people, and I'm excited to share that Singer Financial is now Howard Bailey Financial, an Indiana-based retirement planning firm.
The Howard Bailey team possesses credibility at both an ethical and professional standpoint. They will deliver you a customized framework that allows you to create the meaning of retirement. Whatever you visualize retirement to be, let the Howard Bailey team customize a plan specifically for you. If you're ready for your best retirement, Come forward and see the Howard Bailey difference.
Investment advisory services may be offered through Howard Bailey Securities, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Working with Howard Bailey Securities, LLC cannot guarantee investment success or that specific financial goals will be achieved.
Did you hear about Taco Bell's apology? Yeah, they apologized for going too far with their breakfast. Like the naked egg taco and chicken biscuit nachos? It was too much. All you need in the morning is tasty, simple food. Like the breakfast crunch wrap. Fluffy eggs, melty cheese, sausage, crispy hash browns, wrapped in a warm tortilla. Or, as some call it, a breakfast crunch thing. Grab one today, only at Taco Bell. At participating U.S. Taco Bell stores during breakfast hours only until 11 a.m. While supplies last. Contact local store for hours and participation, which vary.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today.
The watches, warnings, and everything in between as Jack Frost bears down on Indiana. All that and more coming up from the Shepherd Community Center studios after Fox News Radio. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 10 o'clock.
More than 1,400 flights canceled today. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Another 700 more grounded tomorrow as an Arctic blast hits much of the north.
It's 21 below zero in Billings, Montana, but it feels like minus 50, with blizzard warnings extending across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Iowa to Michigan and western New York. Over 100 million of us under wind chill and winter storm warnings, and if your holiday travel includes a car.
Have a full tank of gas, an emergency kit with necessary supplies like water, blankets, flashlight, and other items that you may need if you become stranded.
Chicago Emergency Management's Rich Guidus that could also put a strain on power grids in sub-zero temperatures into Christmas.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. Volodymyr Zelensky is headed back to Ukraine after the president addressed a joint meeting of Congress, thanking the U.S. for help fighting Russia's invasion, asking for more.
We stand, we fight, and we will win because we are united. Ukraine, America, and the entire free world.
The morning after, the Senate's back to work.
Congress is now considering a $1.7 trillion spending package to keep much of the federal government open. $45 billion of that is additional aid to Ukraine, and that's on top of nearly $68 billion already approved in military and economic help. And this spending debate in Congress, some senators have tried to include an extension of Title 42. That's a pandemic-era health authority that allows border agents to expel certain migrants immediately. It was supposed to expire yesterday, but the Supreme Court temporarily kept it in place.
Fox's Rich Edson. The economy was a bit stronger than first thought last quarter. GDP growth revised up to 3.2%.
All of this feeds into what the Federal Reserve does. We're going to expect to see more rate hikes on this higher than anticipated number. GDP, of course, the broadest measure of the nation's output, is how much the economy is growing.
Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
Blizzard warnings to the north. A winter storm warning in effect here in central Indiana. Cloudy and 37 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:02. Those are out for Elkhart, St. Joseph, LaPorte, and Porter counties in northern Indiana. That's where the worst of the winter storm bearing down on the state is supposed to hit. Because of that, the state is banning any oversized loads or a multi-trailer semis from traveling on the toll road in northern Indiana between now and Saturday. Things start to rain and a flash freeze this evening here in central Indiana.
The precipitation will still be ongoing then, so during that transition with the temperatures, that's when the snowfall should start, as soon as we get below freezing.
Randy Bowers with the National Weather Service. And of course, Harrison Silcox reports on that the cold and the snow brings out the scammers sometimes.
Those scammers might go as far as showing up at your front door. Indiana Attorney General Todd Rokita says they'll offer to check your furnace or maybe repair a leak in your roof, and they want the money up front. After you pay, they bail. Rokita says you should prep your home for the cold yourself and don't give those scammers the time of day. If you think you have been scammed, file a complaint at indianaconsumer.com. Harrison Silcox, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
Keegan Kline making a court appearance today in Peru. It's for his child porn case against him, in which he used an online catfish profile to coax young girls to send him pictures. Kline has been connected to the Delphi murder case, but has not been charged in that case. Senator Mike Braun says that there's a good reason he wants to leave Congress.
Everything I've observed, it's going to take a real house cleaning. We'll get it done eventually. I think most of the solutions in this country are going to come from governors.
And he wants to be one of those governors. He says that he filed the official paperwork Tuesday to run for governor in 2024. And you may remember the inspiring story of Tyler Trent and how Purdue rallied around him en route to a bowl game while he battled cancer. Well, Tyler Trent eventually passed away, but his younger brother Ethan Trent is a senior O-lineman at Carmel High School, and he's committed to play for the Boilermakers next season. On the Level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
My husband and I live next door to a haunted graveyard. It's a little creepy, but we manage. Just like we manage without home internet. Do I wish my mobile hotspot was faster? Yes, but I make it work. Kinda. Just like we make it work sleeping next to a 17th century burial ground.
Honey, can you move your hand?
That's not my hand.
It's mine.
Not having home internet? It's not that bad. Grab my hand.
Wait, okay.
No, not up the stairs. We tried that last time. Run around. You can literally run through him.
Don't settle. Switch to Xfinity and get one line of unlimited mobile and home internet together for $50 a month for 12 months. Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit your local Xfinity store today. Restrictions apply. Requires new Connect internet service with 1-year contract. Auto pay and paperless billing with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of data usage. Offer ends 3/21/23.
This hour on 93 WIBC, powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's lab-grown or mined diamond store.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
The Republican Party in Indiana sees zero problem in record spending, in record taxation.
And Casey Daniels.
You went out there and said, please vote for me. You debated other people on why you're the better person for the position. Suck it up.
This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Thursday, December 22nd. It is 6 minutes after 10. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob has the day off, and Guy Relford is sitting in today. So did you watch it? Did you watch Zelensky talking to Congress last night on TV?
I did not watch it live. I saw a lot of the excerpts on the news. I watched the national news when I got home. It was a big day yesterday with the Greenwood announcement and everything, and I did a lot of media. But yeah, I watched a lot of the excerpts on the national news.
So Ukraine's president made a visit to Washington. It was his first trip outside of Ukraine since the Russian invasion began back in February. He met with President Biden at the White House. He later addressed Congress. Congress is set to vote on a $45 billion bill. Aid. It's not a bill unless you want to call it part of the omnibus bill. It's all part of the $1.7 trillion, 4,155 page bill. And it's a really interesting timing. We were talking about this earlier, that if you are to vote no on this omnibus bill, does that mean that you're not for liberty and freedom?
No, yeah,
it's kind of like getting pressured into it, right?
Exactly. You gotta buy the whole ball of wax.
Mm-hmm.
1.7 trillion, including all the ridiculous things that you went through yesterday, Casey, in terms of some of the ridiculous spending in here. By the way, including money to control the borders in places like Egypt and otherwise, and but not for controlling our border. But you got to buy into all that and some of that ridiculous spending. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're turning your back on Russian aggression.
You're talking about the $410 million going towards border security for Jordan, Lebanon, Egypt, and Oman.
There you go. Yeah. Yep. See, I do listen to you on the radio.
I didn't say you notice. I didn't mention anything about Texas or Arizona or Florida or anything in this country. So yeah, that's one of the things in that omnibus bill. Lots of other stuff, but 45 million, billion, trillion. Where are we at this? I mean, it's just so much money. And Zelensky, of course, made this trip to beg, ask, please keep sending this money. We need it. We want it because their borders need to be secure. And he said this money is not charity. Well, it's a lot of money and it's really risky.
Thank you very much. Thank you for both financial packages you have already provided us with and the ones you may be willing to decide on. Your money is not charity. It's an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle in the most responsible way.
That was one of his 18 standing ovations that he got during his speech. He was greeted as a hero. He made a Putin pun during his speech. And make no mistake, he was talking not only to us, to Congress, to his own Ukrainian people, but he was probably sending a message to Putin as well. With a, look at me, I'm here in the United States, behind the American flag, talking to their Congress, and they're going to give me more money.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, in some of my comments, I don't want people to think that, for instance, that I don't support Ukraine in the war with Russia, because I do. But I think our conversation, Casey, and I'm hearing you saying the same thing, which is we shouldn't just be writing blank checks.
It's the accountability.
It's the accountability and it's the return on investment because he addressed that. You know, you and I made that point in the first segment, and Zelensky in his comments said it's not charity, it's an investment. Okay, I still want to hear more clarity and more detail on what does that return on investment look like for the American people. And you know, I learned something as a very young lawyer one time. I wrote this memo that some partner in a law firm had asked me to write, and I wanted it to be perfect, so I spent a lot of time on it. And I wrote down all my billable hours, and it came out that this memo would have cost the client like $5,000 for me to write this thing. But I was all proud of it because it was a really nice piece of work. And I took it in and gave it to the partner, and he said, oh, this is awesome. This is really good. But then he saw my timesheets, and he came in my office a little later, and he said, if you were our client.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, he goes, if you were our client, would you write this firm a check for $5,000 for this memo? It's a great memo. Don't get me wrong. You did a nice job on it. Would you write a check for this piece of work product right here? Would that be worth $5,000 to you as the client? And ever since that, and it was a rhetorical question because the answer was no.
Right.
But ever since that partner had that conversation with me, I think in those terms all the time. And I wish our government thought in those terms, in the sense of, if you're an American taxpayer, are you happy with your money buying this particular thing in this amount, right? And unfortunately, our elected officials just don't simply think in those terms. They just don't. It's like it's free money. They print it. They send it wherever they want to, and there's no accountability.
Yeah, printed money. And Mitch McConnell said, this is our number one priority over everything else.
Right. And then you got
another country is the number one priority in our country.
Yeah.
So Ukraine hasn't always been a bastion of democracy and freedom. It doesn't mean they deserve to be invaded. No, but Zelensky had more to say. Let's listen.
We already built strong Ukraine with strong people, strong army, strong institutions together with you. We developed strong security guarantees for our country and for entire Europe and the world together with you. And also together with you, we'll put in place everyone who will fight freedom. Put in.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Comedy you have to point out.
You know what? If somebody called upon me to make a funny pun in Ukrainian,
right? Might be difficult. You might have a hard time coming up with something.
And by the way, yeah, on social media, somebody please correct me on what exact language they do speak in Ukraine. I'm sure that I actually don't know now that I throw out Ukrainian. But hey, he's in there. At least he's trying to address us in English. I give him props for that, even though it's not necessarily a great pun.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's true. He's doing it for his country. Well, we think he's doing it for the people in his country, being a wartime leader. But, you know, he says the struggle's going to define the world for generations. For generations. And the only thing that keeps coming to my mind when I heard him say that is that we've got Biden in charge, you know? Look at the state of our economy. All of his spending, his attacks on oil and gas, inflation, the Inflation Reduction Act, this terrible hostage policy, the student loan forgiveness that's illegal, the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up, botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's the guy that we have in charge here.
The battle continues, and we have to defeat the Kremlin on the battlefield. Yes. This battle is not only for the territory, for this or another part of Europe. The battle is not only for life, freedom and security of Ukrainians or any other nation which Russia attempts to conquer. This struggle will define in what world our children and grandchildren will live, and then their children and grandchildren. It will define whether it will be a democracy of Ukrainians and for Americans, for all.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, and I don't want to say that there's no legitimacy to this, and should any country and its citizens be allowed to live free and free of repression, absolutely, and free of foreign invasion, and should any country be able to allow should be allowed to invade and conquer another? No, but you always have to ask yourself the question, separate and apart from how we feel about those events, what should America's role be and what should America's investment be?
Right.
And that's where the return on investment has to be made clear to the American taxpayer. Because even though they're printing the money, it's got to be paid back at some point.
It's not being made clear.
Yes.
Because the end game is not being made clear.
Exactly.
Where does this go? How does it end? Billions to Ukraine. We're paying for it. And he's saying it's for global security. Well, heck. Do we even have security in our own country at this point? Global security? How about our border? And I know that, that's where we go back to. But we're spending all of this money for someone else. And is it our fair share? Or is it way more than our fair share? What's the percentage of, other NATO countries? What are they kicking in?
Exactly.
Why is this all falling on our shoulders? Well, earlier in the day, beside a nice warm fire, Biden told Zelensky that the U.S. will stand by him as long as it takes, whatever it is. And then he shared with him the highest honor in all of the country. Yes, that he was Time Magazine's Man of the Year. And I'm questioning if Zelensky's nervous at all, because he's saying, we'll stand by you as long as it takes. Just like Biden didn't stand by Afghanistan.
The Kremlin, and we'll support Ukraine pursuing a just peace. President Zelensky, the United States stands with the brave people of Ukraine. We stand with you. You've been a great leader. And by the way, we have a famous thing that occurs once a year. We pick the Man of the Year in Time Magazine. You are the Man of the Year in the United States of America. And so welcome. We have a lot to talk about. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much.
So at the close of his speech, he quoted FDR, and then he gifted a battle flag, and Nancy Pelosi and him were blowing kisses back and forth to one another. It is 16 minutes after 10. It's the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
I have argued on television and in other places that until we put an end to illegal immigration, there should be no other conversations that take place. You can't be offering up amnesty until you start with, we don't allow illegal immigration in the United States. Everything else is a non-starter.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
It's Rob Kendall for my incredible friends at Life Church. By now, most of you know friend of the show, Pastor Micah Beckwith. And most of you are aware, in addition to being a trusted conservative fighter, he's also part of the Life Church community that would love to welcome you and your family. They've got 4 campuses, including Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, plus online services. Learn more about Micah, Nathan, and the rest of Life Church by visiting their website at lifechurchin.com.
I stopped smoking with Mark Patrick's hypnosis when nothing else worked. 1 year later, my wife Michelle and I attended the Mark Patrick Weight Loss Hypnosis Seminar. In 2 months, lost 43 pounds, and she lost 18 pounds.
And we feel great. Seminars January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss 5:30, stop smoking 8 p.m. Or January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m., stop smoking 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
Puccini's Pizza, Pasta, Puccini's. 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 Puccini's Pizza, Pasta, Puccini's.
Hi, this is Mark Chester from Marshall Mechanical. On behalf of Eric Marshall and our whole team at Marshall Mechanical, we would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you have a home heating emergency during the holidays, please feel free to give us a call at 317-738-5940 or find us online at callthemarshallnow.com.
Marshall Mechanical is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Express the heartwarming message of Christmas this year and give her a diamond engagement ring from Pierce Jewelers that says, I love you. Remember, shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
That guy's brain is a bag full of cats. You can smell crazy on him.
And Casey Daniels.
If she were a president, she'd be Abraham Lincoln.
On 93 WIBC.
Will be ringing. It is 20 minutes after 10. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob has the day off. Guy Ralford's in the studio this morning. And our producer is a little thirsty this morning. You got a fire to put out, Kevin? What's going on?
Yeah, I had a couple mixed drinks last night.
What were you drinking?
I was drinking gin, and it was mixed with sweet vermouth and a little bit of bitter.
Mm-hmm. Was it good?
Yeah, it was very good, but they were very strong. And I played drums and.
So you didn't go out last night? You were just.
No, I was just by myself. Having fun.
Guy, do you want to give him some advice?
Hydrate, man. It's all about hydration. Little aspirin and hydration. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I've spoken from years and years of experience. Now, I'm not a gin drinker, but what you just described, a lot of people called martinis for a lot of years.
Yeah, exactly.
And now everybody puts vodka in martinis. But man, growing up for me, well, it's just really a martini's gin and vermouth. But it's all about hydration and a little bit of aspirin, man.
Yeah, I think that's some sound advice. I also forgot that I had a Guinness as well.
Oh, you were mixing.
Oh, so you were mixing.
That's where the problem is.
I think that's the problem.
So what's the deal? It's a short week this week for us, so last night felt like Friday for you, huh?
Yeah, it was Rob's last day of the year, and we celebrated with a lunch, and it just felt like Friday.
And you just felt like you had to keep going, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, speaking of that, if Hammer and Nigel were sitting here right now, and they heard this story, you know what their advice would be?
What?
Keep drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, hair of the dog. That always helps.
Yeah, that actually does work. Well, Kevin, thank you for showing up today. We really do appreciate that.
No problem.
There's the story that I wanted to share about the American job seekers. The salary expectations have hit a record high, and this is this new poll revealing that the New York Federal Reserve Bank found that the lowest average annual pay someone is willing to accept from a new employer was $73,667. That seems really high to me.
Well, it seems really high to us because we work in radio.
To other people, that seems normal or possibly even low, huh?
Well, but no, it seems very high to me, Casey. And part of that, though, is age. I mean, I'm old. I'm a lot older than you. I'm the next generation. In fact, I'm coming up on 40 years practicing law. You believe that?
Wow.
And
congratulations.
The whole thing. 2023, it'll be 40 years I've been practicing law. And look, obviously inflation plays a huge role in this, and 1983 numbers bear very little resemblance to today's numbers. But you know, my starting salary was my first year out of law school as a lawyer. And by the way, I was thrilled. I'd been so broke for so long trying to get through law school. And my starting salary for a good sized law firm in downtown Indianapolis.
And this was 40 years ago?
This is
I'm going to take a guess.
1983.
26,000.
$27,500.
Hey, not bad.
You nailed it. But I got a $2,500 starting bonus. So I was going to make $30,000.
And you thought you were rolling in the money.
I didn't know what I was going to do with all that money. I mean, it was compared to how incredibly broke I was all through school. And it seemed like a ton. But yeah, even with the effects of inflation, 74,000, even in 2022, seems like a really high amount. And I got to tell you what my first thought was. And again, maybe it's because I spend so much time with cops and I train so much with cops. But we've seen a bunch of advertisements lately, like they're looking for correctional officers in Marion County right now. Greenwood has open enrollment right now, and I see some of those. And I'm not talking about Greenwood Police specifically, but I see some of the law enforcement officers out there, and man, we got to get those salaries up because the people are out there defending us, like the correctional officers. I saw an ad; it says starting somewhere in the 50s, and I'm going, man, if it takes 74 to get quality candidates in some of these jobs that as you just mentioned, we got to do a lot better job of paying our law enforcement officers. That's the very first thought I saw when I saw that number.
Yeah, well, and that's one of those things that Eric Doden, the guy who's running for governor, said that he wants to give, waive income tax for teachers. Well, what about
teachers? I'd put teachers right in there too.
Well, what about the police, like you just mentioned?
Yeah, good point.
But Guy, I will see your 27,000 at 40 years in law, and I will raise you starting disc jockey full-time salary 30 years ago. I came in making the big bucks. You want to take a guess?
18,500.
Oh, 14.5. 14.5. I mean,
wait a minute. 30 years ago? You're not that old.
Yeah, it was 30 years ago. But the average salary right now, people are actually getting. They're wanting 73,000.
Yeah, wow.
They're actually getting 60,000.
Yes.
So not getting the whole thing. Okay, another thing that I wanted to talk with you about is this new trend in toys. Two things that are keeping the toy story afloat right now. One of them is a group known as Kendalls. Okay, so these are kids at heart, and they're responsible for 1/4 of all toy sales, which is about $9 billion worth. And adults who are buying toys are the biggest driver of the growth in the industry. I don't know. They define adults as 12 and up. But they're saying that, in 2020, during the pandemic, toy sales went really high. Board games, puzzles, play sets, all of that. And then it started to decline 3%. But the higher toy prices jumped up, so it kind of offset. And my toys have always aged with me.
Yeah.
Like motorcycles and boats, adult toys.
When we're talking about toys here. Now,
no, they mean actual toys.
Okay, I was going to say, because you and I are both Harley riders, right? And, I like fast cars. I like Harley Davidsons. I consider those my toys.
Yes.
That's not what we're talking about in this story,
No,
though,
we
right?
are talking about actual toys. And this was a trend that started in the 70s and 80s when the toy business began to shift away from being what's the next best toy, innovative. And instead, they started to license toys based on movies and TV shows, especially like 1977 Star Wars, right? And now all of those toys are being bought by adults who are wanting that nostalgic feeling of their youth.
Yeah, but this all kind of fits together, because we host like Gen Con every year, right? And who are the people walking around in dressed up like cartoon characters?
Yeah.
down in downtown India. And God bless them. I'm glad they're here. I'm glad they come here and spend their money. I'm glad they have something they enjoy. Looks to be safe and healthy and good for them. I'm not being negative in any way, but these are grown-ups doing this stuff. Yep. Our own Abdul Hakim Shabazz here, he collects comic books.
Yeah, and the
not just comic
collectibles.
books, but collectibles from Star Wars movies, I think, or something along those lines. And so it all kind of fits together. I mean, there are folks who still like and enjoy some of the things they may have enjoyed when they were kids, and if they get pleasure from that, God bless them. I'm not that guy. If it doesn't run on gas or explode gunpowder, it's probably not going to make it on my toy list.
Yeah. It is 10:27. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. That's Guy Ralford. And coming up, 2 days ago, I had an opportunity to sit down with Jeff Smolian, who is the CEO of MS Communications and used to be the owner of WIBC. And he wrote a book recently called Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down. And we've got two segments. This is a two-parter. First part, we're going to talk about the book. And then the second part of the interview, which will air next hour, I actually got a chance to ask him about how he feels about Jim Irsay and Elon Musk and where things are right now with media and government. So part one of the conversation with Jeff Smolian is coming up next from 93 WIBC.
Thanks, Bob. Well, today's forecast is a chiller. Looks like we can see record lows in the living room and the dining room, while the kitchen is going to stay cold until late in the evening. All three bedrooms will be freezing, with only occasional warmth from the fireplace to provide little relief.
Living room turning into an icebox? We'll be right there. At 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, we're
always on time, or you don't pay time.
Call 855-1HOUR or visit onehourheatandair.com. Each location independently owned and operated. Licensed in their respective state or county.
There's only one you, and you only have one heart. That's why Franciscan Health is here with the highest level of heart care that's personal, compassionate, and sensitive to your needs. Known for embracing innovative technology and advancements in care, our nationally recognized heart team is committed to helping you protect the only heart you've got. To schedule your appointment with a heart care expert or to get a second opinion, visit franciscanhealth.org/heartcare.
If your anniversary is coming up or you are thinking about proposing, then you need to get to Barrington Jewels to see their incredible selection. At Barrington Jewels, you'll find the finest quality craftsmanship and value for diamonds and breathtaking gemstones, including sapphires, rubies, emeralds, and more. Barrington Jewels also offers environmentally friendly, lab-grown diamonds of all sizes and shapes. For jewelry repair or service, they have Indy's quickest turnaround at the lowest price. Barrington Jewels, East 82nd Street at Clearwater Crossing.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It's on the way. Some spotty rain on radar for now. It's 38 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 10:30. Indy Mayor Joe Hogsett says you should probably take care of last-minute shopping now and grab the pets and go inside the house soon.
To avoid injury, the city and public health officials are encouraging residents to stay indoors whenever and as much as possible.
With a winter storm on the way today, Hogsett says that warming centers will be open across the city, and the Department of Public Works will have dozens of trucks plowing roads through Monday. Russia isn't happy after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky met with President Biden to seek more U.S. military support in their war with Ukraine. Zelensky spoke to Congress last night.
This struggle will define whether it will be a democracy of Ukrainians and for Americans for all.
Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has told a Russian website neither Biden nor Zelensky spoke any words that could have seen as potential willingness to listen to Russia's concerns. Russia has been bombing Ukraine for 10 months and has vowed to continue to do so. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This is Chris Ambrose with B&W Plumbing and Heating. You can wait until the last minute to finish your Christmas shopping, but you shouldn't wait to have your furnace maintained. Maintenance on your furnace will improve efficiency, extend the life of your unit, and help identify small issues before they become major problems. Call now at 317-243-3581 to schedule your maintenance today. The B&W Plumbing and Heating family would like to take this time to wish you and your family a very Merry Christmas and a happy and safe New Year.
B&W is your trusted local independent American Standard dealer.
Food insecurity issues are at the center of many families' conversations. Nearly 800,000 Hoosiers and 1 in 6 children go hungry each night. Indiana's pig farmers are committed to giving back to their communities by donating millions of pounds of pork to local food banks, church pantries, and feeding programs. Pig farmers are committed to raising a safe, nutritious product that's available to the tables of families in Indiana communities. Learn more at porkcares.org. Brought to you by Indiana's pig farmers. Pierce Jewelers has the perfect sparkle to put under the tree this Christmas. So don't be a Grinch. Spoil your loved one with a little blue box from Pierce Jewelers in Carmel.
When the weather turns severe, turn to the WIBC Storm Desk, presented by Technology Recyclers, certified electronics recycling. Visit tech-recyclers.com. You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
I was gambling in Havana. I took a little risk.
Good morning. You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. And joining me is CEO of Emmis Communications. It is Jeff Smullian. Thanks for coming in today.
I am delighted to be here, Casey.
I worked for you for about 6 months.
Yep, I know it's not that long.
Not that long. So I wanted to talk with you about the new book that you have out, and it's called Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down.
Right.
And it's a 299-page book, part business manual, part memoir. The book is about your life, your victories, what you call bitter failures, and some of your adventures.
Yeah, the book was written at the behest sort of my daughter. I would drive my daughter to school every day from kindergarten until she fired me when she got her driver's license. And we just talk about life. And I'm sort of a big lesson guy. And so I'd say, here's what I learned here, here's what I learned there. And one day she said, Dad, you got to write this down. Nobody ever believed these stories. So when COVID came, I just started writing and sent it to a couple friends, and they said, you really got a book here. Very gratifying. We ended up getting an agent, got a publisher, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Okay, so in the book, you seem to be influenced by your mother.
Right.
Including your usage of her adage that you've used throughout your life. In life, you just have to laugh.
Right.
Is that what you want people to get out of the book?
Yeah, I think the book hopefully will provide some interesting stories, hopefully funny stories. I think the most gratifying thing is people said I laughed out loud a number of times. And also the lessons that I've learned. I try to tell a story and say, here's what I learned from this experience. And but at the end of the day, I think we've always said, in life, you just have to laugh.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned your daughter, and
Right.
she's the one who recommended that you write the book.
Right.
So I wanted to ask you, based on the fact that it was your daughter who recommended that you write the book
Right.
and that you repeat quotes from your mother,
Right.
what do you think your life would have been like without the women who were in it?
That's a great question. I have two daughters. I love them dearly. I have a wife I love dearly. I think I learned how to take direction by having the women in my life. I usually listen and do what they tell me.
Yeah. Everybody should take this advice from Jeff Smullian. He's in the studio, and we're talking about the book, Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down, and it's available right now. Now, you mentioned that life is never a straight line.
Right.
So what have you learned from your, quote, bitter failures?
Well, I've always said you learn the great lessons of life in adversity. And I think I've always heard the phrase, life's a roller coaster. I think some of the crazy stuff I've done meant that I was doing it upside down. But what I've learned is that you learn the great lessons of life in adversity. When I was a kid, when I was younger, I thought life was a straight line up, and you went from success to success to success, and that's really not true.
Yeah.
But I've been very fortunate. I've had an incredible career, made some wonderful friends, done some cool things, and I think the most important thing is, when you're down, don't quit.
Yeah, just keep going.
Keep going.
Take the lessons that you learned from the failures and reapply them.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so the book has gotten rave reviews. David Letterman, also Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
They both give you 5 stars on it. Some of the chapters are called The Fine Line Between Idiot and Genius.
Right.
The Search for Shiny New Objects. How to Fix a Television or Not. Rising from the Ashes, the first time. And my favorite chapter was Best of Times, Worst of Times,
Right.
which could almost describe what we're all living through right now.
Yep.
And this chapter goes on to tell the story about how you set up a radio station in Hungary. So I was hoping that you could tell our listeners about being the first victim of Viktor Orban and his regime, and what you learned from that experience.
Well, I was a U.S. ambassador to the International Telecommunications Union in 1994, and part of that process, I met people all over the world, and we found that they were really following the American model of broadcasting in Eastern Europe after the fall of the Soviet Empire. So we were a bidder for one of the 2 national licenses in Hungary. We got it
against the heir to the Estee Lauder fortune.
Well, he actually bid on TV and didn't get it, and it caused some controversy. We got one of the 2 national radio licenses, and we put a network on called Schlager, which meant hit radio. And it was funny when we were doing the research. We kept coming back, play the people wanted the hits of the 60s and 70s, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Motown. And we said, I'll never forget, I said, you got to research that again because that music was banned here. And it came back and people said it was banned, but they got a hold of it. And because it had been banned in the Soviet era, it mattered more to people. And so we put on Schlager. It was a monumental success. One of the biggest enterprises MS ever had. In a country of 10 million people, I think it had 4.5 million listeners a week.
Wow.
I'll never forget meeting with the Prime Minister, and he said, I listen to your morning show every day. So it was really a wonderful success. And then what happened was a new regime, actually at the very beginning of Orban's takeover of the government. And he basically just changed the regulations, threw out all the rules, put in his own people. When we first heard that they made us an offer and said, we want half your business and editorial control, we thought they were kidding. And then we found out they were doing it to both us and the other national license, which at that time was owned by an Austrian company. I'll never forget, I had a good friend, Bill Kennard, who had been chairman of the Federal Communications Commission before, so I knew Bill. And Bill was the U.S. ambassador to the European Union in Brussels. And I called Bill and I said, Bill, we're being nationalized. And he said, Jeff, you can't be nationalized. They're a member of the European Union. I said, Bill, trust me, we're being nationalized. And they said, no, you don't understand. You can't be. They're a member of the European Union. They have to follow the rules and regulations. And I said, Bill, I'm telling you. And about a week later, he called me and he said, Bill, or Jeff, you're being nationalized. And I said, yeah, Bill, no kidding, Bill. No kidding. I know. So it was a bizarre experience. We litigated in the courts. We won at several levels, lost at one other level. I, interestingly enough, called Viktor Orban Putin without oil, kind of kiddingly. I didn't know until many years later that Putin actually sort of orchestrated Orban's rise to power. I never knew all that at the time. Since then, he's become sort of an international scoundrel, and they have been at war with the European Union forever. He nationalized the courts and the banking system and the rest of media. We were his first case.
So you mentioned the music that you played, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Motown, and how that music was banned in Hungary.
Yep.
I have to imagine that was kind of like the sound of freedom.
It was. It was absolute sound of freedom. I'll never forget, I talked to somebody there once, and I said, what was it like? He said, the most interesting thing, and I never forgot this, he said, when we were under communist regime, we looked at everything in the West as perfect. He said the streets were paved with gold. Everybody was healthy. Life was perfect. He said when freedom came, he said, you can't imagine how great it was. But we also realized people still got sick and died. Businesses failed and not. And he said it was fascinating. We idealized life so much in the West that nothing could match our expectations. And yet, he said, once the country was liberated, it was totally different. Yeah.
After going through that experience of giving listeners in Hungary a sound of freedom, and then the radio station being nationalized, did that change your approach to broadcasting in America?
Not really. I think their approach, we invested because we were convinced that they were going to follow the American model and the American system of transparency and regulations. If you behave in the United States, you keep your license, you have certain standards. In Hungary, we had met those standards, and then they just threw out all the rules. But I think, we always tried to be the kind of broadcasters that were involved in our communities and never really, there are very few licenses taken away in the United States, and we certainly never had any problems.
Well, you clearly have a sterling reputation among the industry here. It's Jeff Samulian who's joining us. We're talking about his new book, Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down. And can you stick around? Because I have some more questions for you based on your tremendous life experience. They may not resonate about the book, but I think it will be of interest to our listeners.
I'd be delighted to.
All right. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Coming up on the Hammer and Nigel Show, everything you need to know about the winter storm headed our way, how to get home safe. We'll be talking to Wish TV meteorologist. Plus, we'll go off the rails with Rob Kendall. That's at 3 o'clock, 93 WIBC.
I'd rather be folding laundry.
This is gonna be fun.
Said no one ever. Also, no one enjoys wasting time in traffic. That's why we love saving you time. Matt Baird Traffic.
Backups are already starting.
On 93 WIBC.
Christmas is a time for tradition, and the best Christmas traditions never change. They bring us closer to our families and loved ones and to our Creator. Join Tabernacle Presbyterian Church for its traditional holiday telecast, Christmas with Tab, airing Christmas Eve at 5 p.m. and Christmas Day at 2 p.m. on WHMB TV 40.1. Hear your favorite Christmas carol sung by the Tabernacle Sanctuary Choir from one of the most beautiful sanctuaries in Indianapolis as we celebrate the birth of the Savior who came to earth on the first Christmas. That's Christmas with Tab, Christmas Eve at 5 p.m. and Christmas Day at 2 p.m. on WHMB TV 40.1. Presented by Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th and Central in Indianapolis. We hope you'll join us. And if you can't, you can visit us online at tabpres.org.
PA Jewelers in Brownsburg is your one and only spot for Christmas and holiday gifts this year, and I shop at PA Jewelers. Jewelry from my wife, watches for my wrist, that's what I get from PA Jewelers. They have an incredible selection of one-of-a-kind pieces, vintage pieces, specialty pieces. Visit PA Jewelers today to get your Christmas shopping done today. More than a kiss, visit PA Jewelers inside Premier Arms, 3754 South Green Street in Brownsburg. PA Jewelers is worth the trip. 317-858-3030 or online at premierarms.com.
Updated COVID vaccines are here, just in time for the season that brings us all closer. Just in time for added protection against the original COVID virus and Omicron. Just in time for crowded stores and great big family dinners. Updated COVID protection is here. And if you haven't had a vaccine since September, it's time to give yourself the gift of updated protection. Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today.
Today.
Hey, it's Big Joe for Absolute Comfort, your trusted independent American Standard Air dealer. Owner Chris Weddikin sells the ductless Mitsubishi Electric Mini Split, which is a clean and extremely energy-efficient way to heat and cool a specific area.
These systems don't run the air through the ductwork, which is where a lot of your dust and allergies and other displeasing smells come from. And maybe best of all, you're not circulating viruses throughout the home.
Find out more at AbsoluteComfort.org. Absolute Comfort is your trusted independent American Standard Air Mitsubishi Electric Elite Ductless Pro dealer.
The latest local news, commentary from Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey,
5.6%.
Hammer and Nigel, podcasts. Listen to the station live whenever, wherever, online at WIBC.com.
The spirits up.
Good morning, 1047. It is the Kendall and Casey show on 93 WIBC. Guy Relford is filling in for Rob today, who has the day off, but he'll be calling in later this afternoon to your show, right, Nigel?
Yes, for Off the Rails, and we'll be talking somewhat about his, he had a big personal announcement yesterday. I was hanging out in the side studio with the door cracked open, and I kind of just heard it on just a little bit, and what I heard, I was like, my mouth dropped to the floor when I heard it.
So you were surprised by the news?
I was surprised by the news, and we don't have to talk about it right now, but I definitely want to get the skinny on that when Rob calls in at about 5:30 today in the middle of our winter storm coverage. Hey, by the way, is Jeff Smolian coming back in here at some point?
Yeah, next hour.
Great.
We're going to hear from him next hour.
To him. You were talking to him about his new book. You got the interview.
I got the interview.
You scored the interview for Jeff's new book. Now, I know we don't work for Jeff anymore, but I've known him I've been employed since 2002. For almost 20 years I've known Jeff.
Are you bitter that I got to interview him?
Yeah, because I love the guy.
I worked for him for about 6 months, and then they sold the radio station.
Can I tell you my Jeff Smolian story?
Yeah.
Please.
I was speaking at a continuing legal education conference for the Indianapolis Legal Aid Society last year. And Jeff got invited in to speak at it too, and it was about lawyers and media was his presentation. So he spoke, and there was a break after he spoke, and he was walking out. And so since I was on break too, I caught up after him because I'd never met him, and I kind of rushed after him, and I tapped his elbow, and I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Smolian, I just wanted to meet you." I go, "My name's Guy Relford. I have a show on Saturdays
on your radio station
called The Gun Guy Show." And he smiles, he shakes my hand, and he says, "Well, thank you for your business."
Oh.
And I went, No, you pay me. You pay me to do it. So he thought I was one of the pay-to-play guys that pay for airtime on the weekends. I'm like, no. You pay me for a show. And he's like, and he looks me up and down and goes, "Really?"
Oh, well, we can change that rather quickly.
You know what the thing is? You know that old sort of saying that you're not having success in radio unless you get a bunch of complaints and they're coming across and it gets to the top. You're not doing your job.
Are you super successful?
I saw Jeff at Zubilation a couple of years ago, and he's like, "Man, I just got to tell you, between me and Rick and Pat Walsh, I hardly ever get any complaints about you guys. So I appreciate that." And I go, "Wait a minute. That means I'm not doing my job."
Oh, no.
I kind of looked downtrodden a little bit. He goes, "Nigel, that whole thing is a myth." he goes, "The less I have to worry about it." Because when it gets to Jeff, when there's a problem that we cause on this level. And
to get up to the 7th floor?
Yeah,
your PETA level is pretty high at that point.
Yeah. So maybe I need to do more to get to our new leader's desk.
Well, I hadn't
complaints.
Hadn't been here very long, only 6 months before he sold the radio station.
Yeah.
And I had been in the elevator with him a few times, but I didn't know that was him.
Yeah.
We kind of looked at each other. It was mostly me looking at him like, I wonder if that's him. Is that him? Because I'd never been formally introduced to him. And then when, I met him for the interview, oh, yeah, that was him in the elevator.
It was a hell of a party, too. After he got married in the early 2000s, he had a reception at his house, and there was like buses and shuttles going back and forth to his house, and he had Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins play live.
Fantastic.
It was incredible.
So you went to it?
Yeah.
And you load up, have a couple cocktails?
Of course I did.
Hey, Kevin had some cocktails last last night, and we were Guy and I were talking about you earlier before you got in here. He's hanging just a tad this morning.
Really? A little bit dehydrated over there, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm drinking my water. I'm hanging in there. I also took some aspirin this morning, so that helps.
Did the show go out yesterday? You guys were hanging around the building afterwards for a little while.
Yeah, Rob and Kevin and Allison and I, we went to an establishment after the show. Well, Rob's gone for a couple weeks until the new year.
He had a private little party that
you
didn't
know what?
include us.
It was going to be super private, Nigel. I wasn't even invited until 5 minutes before we walked out.
By the way, Nigel, we'll see if I got this right or not. We were talking to Kevin about hangover cures.
Yeah.
I was saying hydrate, and take a couple aspirin. I said, by the way, if Hammer and Nigel were in here, I know what they would tell you to cure a hangover, and I want to know if I got it right.
Well,
wait, what's the cure, Nigel?
The hair of the dog.
See, I nailed it. I said, Hammer and Nigel will tell you to keep drinking.
I'm sure there's some beer back in their fridge if you're really hurting.
I could get you a shot of whiskey right now. There's plenty. I mean, there's a big old wet bar back there.
I might have to take you up on that offer.
So, Nigel, I wanted to go through some of this with you. These are the top 10 American Christmas traditions.
Okay.
Let's see how many of these you do
Is
around
that this
your
weekend?
house. Yes.
What day is this?
Yes.
Okay.
It is this weekend. Pick out a Christmas tree. Live or artificial?
Oh, artificial, please.
Artificial.
I don't have time to. I can't do it.
Have you ever cut down?
No.
No, not even when the kids were little? Littler?
No. It's always been, pack it up, put it down in the basement.
I saw somebody actually cleaning their Christmas tree. That seems.
With like a vacuum?
They put it in the bathtub and let it down. Yeah.
Really?
Cleaned it. And the water turned all brown.
Of course.
I thought if you're at the point where you have to give your tree a bath, maybe it's time for a new Christmas tree.
Guy, I don't know about you, but when I was a bachelor, I had my first house on the west side, 46 and Eagle Creek Parkway, and I've lived with roommates for 5 years. Not once in those 5 years did we put up a Christmas tree or put up a single Christmas light. Like in your years when you were, at college and roommates and dorms in your first house, did you even bother with any sort of Christmas decorations?
Then and during the 20 years I was single, keep in mind, I was single for. I had this classic, like Charlie Brown, kind of a dilapidated little thing that I put up every year, and with one little sad bulb on it, and I loved that thing.
You were okay with it?
Oh, I was absolutely.
We didn't even do that. Okay, like literally from the years 2000 to 2006, nothing at my house.
What about watch a tree lighting ceremony? Do you ever do that? Like the one in Monument Circle here?
Yeah, I brought my kids here a couple different times. We were lucky enough to have a great view off the third floor deck over to the lighting of Monument Circle. Of course, yeah.
Okay, do you decorate your house with lights?
Outside? No,
Does anyone?
We did, for the first time ever, we paid this guy, Nick. He's really good, to just do a very simple
you have a guy for everything, don't you?
I don't have a guy for everything, but this guy got recommended to us. He was really good. And it's just like a really simple lighting across the gutters in the front and the top of our house.
Does he come and take it down as well?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So he'll take it down in like the end of January.
Secret Santa gift exchange.
Yeah, we did one with my wife's all their friends last weekend. Is like last weekend or the weekend before. Is that when you got
the coloring book?
That's when we got the
Walmart.
The people of Walmart coloring book, along with 2 40s of Modelo beer.
One more.
Go ahead.
Build a gingerbread house.
No, I'm not doing that.
Okay.
Kids did it, but I'm not doing that.
What do you have coming up today?
Lots of weather coverage, okay?
Yeah.
Rob Kendall's going to call in, and Tony Kinnett's filling everything you need to know about getting home safe today on the afternoon show with Hammer and Nigel.
Perfect. Thank you, Nigel. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Wonderful Christmas time.
By listening to WIBC, you'll learn how to create a secure income plan that is sustainable throughout retirement from Crown Haven Wealth Advisors. Tune into WIBC this Sunday from 9 to 10 p.m.
Season's greetings. It's Terry Stacy for locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark with this latest blast of winter. Your locally owned Cynthia's Hallmark's 4 locations will begin their after Christmas clearance sale on Friday and continue through Christmas Eve and after. 50% off all seasonal holiday gifts and ornaments with just a few exclusions during the sale, which begins Friday through Christmas Eve and after. I was just shopping for last-minute gifts at Cynthia's Hallmark in Greenfield, where they will wrap your gifts for free, by the way. Squishmallows, the hit of the year. They're flying off the shelves, and Cynthia's has the exclusive holiday Squishmallows. Still a great selection of Yeti, cozy thermal gloves and hats, scarves. It's one-stop last-minute gift buying with 5-star customer service, in and out the door in no time. Thank you for shopping at Cynthia's and supporting your local mom and pop businesses. Merry Christmas from everyone at Cynthia's Hallmark. 116th and Allisonville Road, 96th and Lantern Road, 116th and Brook School Road, and in Greenfield.
'Tis the season to find your perfect car or truck at Hubler. Get your vehicle your way. We'll help you pre-order a vehicle built just for you. Visit drivehubler.com.
Hi, it's Steve Mann. Have you heard the commercials for the Mark Patrick Stop Smoking seminars? And they said only $49.99 and it could work for you. So I thought, that's not even a week's worth of smoking. So I went. And guess what? It did work for me. You know, my friends and family are still amazed. I quit smoking. I didn't have cravings, anxiety, or weight gain. Listen, I don't know how it works, but I know it works because I'm living proof, and it's 100% guaranteed. So what do you got to lose? I'll tell you what you got to lose. A very bad habit.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking without cravings, irritability, or weight gain. Only $49.99 guaranteed. Don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all, or your money back. Seminars are 8 p.m. on Thursday, January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville, or 2 p.m. on Saturday, January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Registration is 30 minutes before the seminar. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
Inside Indiana Business Radio, the news you need to get ahead. Indiana's business news leader, weekdays at 6:32 a.m. and 5:56 p.m. on WIBC.
I wanted to know why some people who get COVID-19 get it so bad. I found out it may be because they have a high risk factor, such as heart disease, diabetes, being overweight, smoking, and asthma. Even if symptoms feel mild, these factors can increase your risk of COVID-19 turning severe. So if you're at high risk and test positive, there are things you can do, like asking your healthcare provider if an authorized oral treatment is right for you. Learn about an option at treatcovid19.com. This message is sponsored by Pfizer.
Hello, Richard Michaelis, President of Michaelis Corporation, wishing you a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. For over 3 decades, the Michaelis team has helped Central Indiana families and businesses facing fire, water, and storm damage. And because emergencies don't take days off, neither do we. If the unexpected happens this holiday season, we're here for you with our 24/7 rapid disaster response service. Because life happens, water, storms, fire, and foundations, make it Michaelis. 844-FIX-INDY.
Jewelry, rings, diamonds, and watches are just a few possible Christmas gifts at Pierce Jewelers. Let them help you celebrate that special moment with your loved one. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
The timing of when it gets dangerously cold, not to mention the snow. That and more coming up from the Shepherd Community Center studios. You're listening to 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. It's 11 o'clock.
Take the storm seriously. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what President Biden is urging us.
It's not like a snow day, when you're a kid. This is serious stuff.
Millions of Americans dealing with a frigid Arctic blast.
And it goes from Oklahoma all the way to Wyoming and Wyoming to Maine.
Today into tomorrow, making pre-Christmas travel tougher for those driving and flying. More than 1,500 flights are canceled today, and airlines have already grounded almost 800 for tomorrow. Congress is trying to finish up its work.
There's a lot of reasons why none of us want to be here several more days. Tempers were flaring, and patience was fraying last night.
Democratic Senator Chris Coons. But this morning, the majority leader says they have an agreement, teeing up votes, trying to pass a massive spending bill to fund the government by tomorrow night. But Republican Senator Mike Lee wants to add a border provision to this bill.
On whether to preserve Title 42, because Title 42 is the one thing standing between us and utter chaos.
Title 42 is the COVID-era policy that's blocked some migrants from entering the U.S. illegally. Included in this spending, another $45 billion in military and other aid to Ukraine. Its president, Volodymyr Zelensky, told a joint meeting of Congress last night.
Ukraine is alive and kicking.
Thanking the U.S. for help fighting Russia and asking for more.
On his way home, President Zelensky met with Polish President Andrzej Duda. He thanked them for all of the Polish support throughout the war. Russia responded in a big way after Zelensky's visit to the U.S. yesterday. President Putin promised a new intercontinental ballistic missile called the Sarmat, and he said it would soon enter service.
That's Fox's Nate Foy in Kyiv. We are seeing a big sell-off on Wall Street. The Dow is down nearly 500 points. We did get word earlier that first-time unemployment claims rose slightly last week. America's listening to Fox News.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
It'll drop like a rock. Spotty rain on radar, 38 downtown. I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:02. Keep an eye on the temperature near you. Here's why. That's the advice from National Weather Service meteorologist Randy Bowers.
Late afternoon, early evening time frame, that's when the temperature is just going to basically fall off a cliff. It's going to be a dramatic decrease in temperature like we haven't really seen in quite a while.
And he says when that happens, snow begins to fall, the worst of which will be in northern Indiana, but he says a lot of the precipitation will freeze on roads too here in central Indiana, which could make Friday morning's commute a rather treacherous one. Make sure your gas tank is topped off too. The average price for unleaded gas is $2.97 in Indiana today, says Gas Buddy. And dozens of trucks will be hitting the roads ready to plow any snow that falls this week, says Indy Mayor Joe Hogsett.
While several Indy Parks facilities will operate as warming centers for those who find themselves without heat.
He advises that you bring pets inside and make sure that you take care of your faucets to avoid any pipes bursting in your home. A man arrested for his role in his father's death. Sean Hayes was arrested in Lawrence County Tuesday. That's in southern Indiana. This comes after police found his father dead inside of a home in Mitchell. Charging information for Hayes is expected in the coming days. You've heard Senator Mike Braun gripe about government spending while in Congress, and he says it's gotten to the point that he doesn't want to stick around.
My time is too valuable to see this place get even deeper into the hole.
He tells Fox News that he filed the official paperwork on Tuesday to run for governor come 2024. He's also non-committal on who he might endorse to succeed him in the Senate. The Indiana Hoosiers will be without guard Xavier Johnson for the foreseeable future on the hardwood. He had foot surgery Wednesday to repair an injury that he suffered in their game against Kansas. IU head coach Mike Woodson saying that Johnson will be out indefinitely. The Hoosiers are supposed to play Kennesaw State tomorrow. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
This hour on 93 WIBC is powered by Pierce Jewelers, Carmel's Diamond Engagement Ring Store.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
The Republican Party in Indiana sees zero problem in record spending, in record taxation.
And Casey Daniels.
You went out there and said, please vote for me. You debated other people on why you're the better person for the position. Suck it up.
This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Good morning. It is Thursday, December 22nd. It's 5 minutes after 11. This is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC. Rob Kendall has the day off, and Guy Relford is joining me in the studio. And this powerful winter storm pounding a big portion of the country, freezing temperatures, heavy snow, snarling a lot of holiday plans, and for millions in its path, the storm could intensify here in Indiana. We're looking at rain and then snow and then freezing rain. And Google searches for the phrase bomb cyclone are trending right now. What is a bomb cyclone? It sounds pretty scary, but I guess it's appropriate because a lot of people are saying that this storm, when the weather is dropping across the country, it's a 40-degree change within a matter of a half an hour, and it is like a snow tornado.
Yeah, literally. And where there's so much precipitation all at once combined with really high winds, you get a bomb cyclone.
Bomb cyclone. Yeah, it's a term for fast developing storm that occurs with atmospheric pressure drops at least 24 millibars over a 24-hour period, whatever that means. That's from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. I don't claim to be a meteorologist.
Yeah, no.
I just know that it's going to be a lot to deal with. And up in northern Indiana, they are experiencing blizzard warnings right now. And I have to tell you, at one point, I lived in northern Indiana for 25 years, very used to the lake effect snow. The jet stream, the way it runs, that weather would come across Lake Michigan and then just dump right on South Bend. So very used to driving in snow. This may be a different situation because of the high winds that you talked about and the wind chill and the freezing temperatures, because it's going to turn to ice possibly. And Governor Holcomb has enlisted the help of 150 National Guardsmen who are going to be out helping people on the highway. But I can recall one winter, and it was right after the winter my father passed away. And I was driving from St. Louis back to South Bend, and it was so bad that they closed the toll road.
Oh, wow.
In northern Indiana. Not just a portion of it, because there's always a portion near Elkhart where it always seems to be closed down. This was the entire toll road from New Buffalo all the way over to the Ohio border. So I had to take US 12 to get home, and it took me, 5-6 hours. The worst part, Guy, was that I was driving in a rear-wheel drive convertible Mustang.
Yeah.
Loved that car.
Yeah.
Loved that car. It was such a good car. It was a 2011. It was really boxy. It kind of looked like a muscle car, and it was striped delete, so it didn't have the printing of Mustang on the side.
Yeah,
it was just all black. It had saddle leather interior, and boy, it was a lot of fun.
And well, hold on. You really liked it because a blonde in a Mustang convertible gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, but man, was that a really, really stupid choice to have in the winter in northern Indiana.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, Casey, because whenever we get out of here and I get out in the weather, I don't think it's going to be real bad in central Indiana until later today. But you're sitting across the studio right now from a guy who drives a 640 horsepower rear-wheel drive muscle car. And then I drove down here. Now, my wife drives an all-wheel drive Audi Q7, very beautiful vehicle.
Yeah.
I thought, I don't want to drive that. I want to drive my car because I really, really, really like my car.
Yeah.
But this may be the last time it gets out of the garage for a few days.
Yeah,
because it's horrible. It's basically a four-door Corvette is basically what this thing is.
Goes super fast, a lot of fun, but not practical.
Yeah, no, it's Cadillac CTS-V is what it is, but it's god awful in any kind of weather.
There are 12 cities in the country that are really going to get just hammered by this storm, and they are Chicago, Minneapolis, St. Louis, Des Moines, Detroit, Milwaukee, Kansas City, Buffalo, Cleveland, New York, Boston, and Indianapolis. Up to 6 inches could fall. Storm watch is in effect until Saturday morning. Rain is going to kick things up, developing into snow later tonight. And then, after the holiday weekend is over and the 113 million travelers are back home after the holiday, then the temperatures rise again up to 40 degrees. So it kind of has me thinking everybody wants a white Christmas, right? It's a very romantic notion, gathering around the fire. You've got the family and the food and the presents and white Christmas, and it's beautiful, right? And then as soon as Christmas is over, what do we want? We want that snow out of here. And that's kind of, I think, what is going to happen here. It's going to come in, but then exit quickly.
Yeah, I don't see this snow as being that pretty, white Christmas kind of snow. This looks like it's going to be blowing
a little rougher than that.
It's going to end with a lot of freezing conditions where roads are going to be wet and then freeze, which is always horrible. Give me snow, even with a horrible car in snow. Give me snow before you give me ice any day of the week.
Absolutely.
And so this one looks like it really has a potential for icing conditions, and then a bunch of snow on top of that, which is then even worse. So yeah, this one's got ugly written all over it.
Yeah, and many times meteorologists will get a bad reputation for overhyping things, right? All indications say that this is going to be nasty. So you have been warned. This is not a drill.
Yep.
Yeah.
There you go.
It is going to be cold. And it's so cold that politicians may stop blowing hot air. We'll see. Doubt it. Hey, let's talk about this poll that was released. And it shows that Congresswoman Victoria Spartz is tied with Jim Banks regarding the U.S. Senate. She has not formally announced that she's running, and I know that you speak to her often. Is that something that's coming?
Yeah, I mean, I have no inside information on that, but yeah, I'd be shocked if Victoria doesn't run for Senate, and you know, I don't want to. I don't want to exaggerate my relationship with her. I'm a fan of hers, and I worked a little bit on her campaign, and in the sense that, you know, I had promotional materials up in my office and whatnot. But anyway, I've just talked to her a little bit, and she's not mentioned anything one way or the other about running for Senate. But given where she is, given her. I think that the footprint she's established for herself already in the House of Representatives, I think she'd be a great Senate candidate. Although I got to tell you, I say that in one breath. I'm a big Jim Banks fan that I can say in the very next breath.
Yeah.
So he says the poll has them tied.
They're both at 15%.
They're both pretty darn close in the one-person Guy A. Relford poll, too, because I think they're both great candidates. I think they'd be both great in the Senate.
Well, when it comes to name identification and favorability, Spartz is at 36%. Banks is at 32%. Mitch Daniels could run away with this if he wants it because he is at 61%. But the interesting thing about this poll was that they included Mike Braun in it, even though we know he's already said he's leaving and he's going to run for governor. He is at 68%.
Yeah.
And he has been very outspoken about this omnibus bill, saying no, he's not going to vote for it, doing the exact opposite of what Todd Young has done. It is the Kendall and Casey show on 93 WIBC. That's Guy Relford sitting in for Rob Kendall today. Okay, so when we were off the air, we were talking about a case that you just got done wrapping up.
Yeah.
The Firearms Preemptive Act?
Preemption Act, yeah.
Preemption Act? What?
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, it's funny. Yeah, we were just having a conversation. When I leave here, I got to go meet a client to because
you had to do some math.
Yeah, I had to do math because we're getting a settlement check in, and I got to figure out what his part is and what my part is. And I was I mean that's how this whole conversation arose because I was over here cussing because I had to do math.
Yeah,
I went to law school because there's no math involved.
Hey, I'm in radio because there's no math, right?
But you asked me what the Preemption Act is because that's what this case involves. It's really something people really need to know about, and that is that in 2011 we passed a law in Indiana that basically says, look, we got plenty of laws that regulate guns at the federal level. We got plenty of laws at the state level. What we don't need is a bunch of or a bunch of local, I should say, regulations within the state that also regulate firearms. Because if you let every county and city and airport authority and housing authority and township and all these other municipal entities that are what we call political subdivisions, they're local governments. If you let every one of those regulate firearms as well, you'd have this patchwork quilt that would make no sense and it would be impossible to keep track of. So we passed the Preemption Act in 2011 that basically says, absent some exceptions, like an exception is that a local government can have a regulation or an ordinance that says you can't take a gun in a building that contains a courtroom. Okay, that's all right. That's fine. They can have that. And there are a few other exceptions, but outside those exceptions, the law simply says local governments can't regulate firearms. And then it says that if they do, then they can be sued, and the recovery in the lawsuit is either their actual damages, like the case we're talking about is a guy just got thrown out of a city park down in southern Indiana for carrying a gun because there's an ordinance locally that says you can't have a gun in a city park. And I've had several of these across the state. And he got thrown out. Well, they can't
thrown out of the park.
Thrown out of the park for carrying a gun. And because there's this ordinance that says you can't have a gun in a park. Well, that's an illegal ordinance under the Indiana Firearms Preemption Act. And so they can be sued. And the legislature looked at that and said, well, why would anybody file a lawsuit if the only thing you could recover is the actual damages. In other words, you get into a park for free, you get thrown out.
Right.
You basically have no damages. So the government said, the state legislature said, I know, we'll create an incentive here for people to enforce this. So your recovery can be either your actual damages or liquidated damages, we call them, of 3 times your attorney's fees plus your attorney's fees. So you file a lawsuit, you litigate that for a while, your attorney fees start generating.
Right.
And what you recover in that lawsuit is actually 4 times your attorney's fees, because you get 3 times attorney's fees as damages plus your attorney's fees. And so they really add up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so,
And the longer it litigates, the higher it goes.
That's right. And actually, we settled this one very quickly because the attorney on the other side called me and said, hey, my client doesn't really want to litigate this. Why don't we just resolve it? And he said, your client can't have many damages. And I go, well, damages aren't what we're talking about. We're talking about my fees, and here's 4x my fees. That's what you owe us. And there's really no negotiation involved, because the number's the number. And so, I mean, I like filing them, not just so much because, it puts a little money in my client's pocket, but because it sends the message to other municipalities across the state. Don't screw around and restrict Second Amendment rights.
Don't make this bogus ordinance, because
I can make this hurt. And because the other thing you get out of the lawsuit is you get the ordinance declared illegal and unenforceable.
And take it away.
So you can repeal it on your own. Or you can have me sue you. Like my grandpa used to say, you can do your chores, or you can take a whipping and do your chores, but you're going to do your chores. And I like that mentality when it comes to local governments not rescinding or repealing these ordinances that the Preemption Act says you can't have on the books.
Okay, so now this fella's going to get a paycheck for...
He's going to get a little bit of money right here before the holidays. That's right.
Good for him. All right, 17 after 11. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
We do have that winter storm watch in place from Indianapolis and points northward. So the winds are going to be whipping on Thursday.
When the weather turns wicked.
We're still really concerned about the wind chills.
Brutally cold temperatures.
And has real-life consequences. Staying informed can make all the difference.
Rain, snow, gusty winds.
On air, online, and on Alexa.
The temperatures drop dramatically overnight Thursday into Friday morning.
Whiteout conditions possible.
93 WIBC.
Looking for the perfect gift this holiday? Crew Car Wash books are on everyone's list. And right now, buy 4 Ultimate Washes and get 2 free. Available online or at any Crew Car Wash location.
Join Mark Patrick seminars and lose the weight guaranteed, only $49.99. Also, stop smoking with Mark Patrick. This hypnosis is designed to destroy your desire to smoke without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back. Seminars Thursday, January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking 8 p.m. And Saturday, January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss 11 a.m. Stop smoking 2 p.m. Register at markpatrickseminars.com.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
We set out to be the very best of the best, and past couple years we've actually achieved that. For all of the state of Indiana, we've been awarded the Dealer of the Year award twice now. Unlike other brands, that only gets handed to one dealer every year, and we're very proud to have won that twice.
Put the best to work for you at FamilyHVAC.net. Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Norman, before we start the surgery, I have some bad news.
What is it, doctor?
Well, I never graduated from med school. But the good news is, it's the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale. Now hurry, because new Xfinity customers can get 75 megabit internet for just $20 a month for 1 year with no annual contract. And this will get your heart rate up. When you add Xfinity Mobile, you get the best price for 2 lines of unlimited.
I gotta get this deal.
Plus, for a limited time, get $500 back with 2 new mobile lines.
That's amazing, Doc.
I know. I don't want to miss this deal. Let's reschedule.
Doc? Doc?
Drop everything and get to the Xfinity Hello 2023 sale now through January 10th. Go to Xfinity.com/Hello 2023. Call 1-800-XFINITY or visit a store today. Restrictions apply. Internet offer requires paperless billing and autopay with stored bank account. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After term, regular rates apply. Xfinity Internet required for Xfinity Mobile. Compares Xfinity Unlimited Intro to lowest price 5G plans of top 3 carriers. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage per line. Data thresholds may vary.
Life is a collection of moments that last forever, so make them matter and make them count with a symbol of everlasting love. A diamond from Pierce Jewelers. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
You're listening to Rob Kendall.
Let me warn you, he's a bad dude.
And Casey Daniels.
She's something,
She is magnificent.
93 WIBC.
Good morning, 20 minutes after 11 with the Kendall and Casey show on 93 WIBC. Guy Relford is in the studio. And moments ago when you and I were talking, you were actually on the radio and on the TV at the same time. And so you had a press conference yesterday. Let's take a quick listen to how you sounded at your press conference yesterday.
Eli's authorized me to talk generally about the events of that day and what's happened since. I mean, again, this is an all-American, hardworking, I always want to call him a kid, but he's 22 years old, who simply wanted to have a meal with his girlfriend at the mall. They actually came to Greenwood from the Columbus area because there's a particular smoothie in the area that he was after and wanted to come have a smoothie, and they decided to go grab dinner at the mall. And when the circumstances unfolded as they did, his first thought was simply, I need to protect people. I need to stop this person from killing people. And as the chief has reported, within 15 seconds, engaged the shooter and was able to neutralize that threat starting from a distance. I lasered it. I'm a competitive shooter myself and have been active for a long time. I went to the mall and used a laser rangefinder, and I came up with 42 yards. The chief said 43 today. And engaged the threat from that distance and made hits, 8 out of 10. And again, what was incredible to me in him taking me through those events is how he was so level-headed and was able to exhibit that kind of marksmanship.
Okay, so you're talking about what happened at the Greenwood Mall.
Yes.
And so you didn't expect to be giving a press conference yesterday.
No, I mean, I wasn't part of the press conference that was called by Chief James Eisen of the Greenwood Police Department, and then he also had the FBI there. It was really a joint press conference, the FBI and the Greenwood Police Department. But I've been in pretty much constant communication with Chief Eisen, and he's been great. He's been very communicative, very professional, and so he sent me a heads up that the news conference was going to happen, and then I saw the press release on it from Greenwood Police. And so I just let him know via text. I go, hey, Chief, I'm going to be there. And so if you get questions about Eli, my client, or things that you would like to defer to me, just you can let people know I'll be there to answer questions after the press conference. And so I wasn't part of the press conference. I wasn't at the podium during their press conference. But what happened is he did get some questions from reporters about Eli, and he said, hey, Eli's lawyer's here. If you want to talk to him afterward, he'll be available to answer your questions. So as soon as the actual press conference ended, I had like 12 reporters walk up to me at once.
Yeah.
And rather than do them one at a time, somebody said, hey, why don't you just step back up to the podium? Because they also had their microphones set up for the actual press conference. So I actually just impromptu stepped back up to the podium where the chief just was, and all the cameras were still set up and the microphones were all still set up. And I basically then had kind of my own press conference, but it wasn't planned that way. In fact, I talked to the chief afterward. I said, I hope that was okay. Because I wasn't trying to step on his toes at all, but he was done.
Yeah.
He had concluded his and walked to the back of the room, and he said, oh, no, absolutely not. It worked great, because what I did in probably 10 or 12 minutes in sort of that impromptu press conference would have taken me 2 hours to get out of there if I'd done them one at a time.
Right.
Just talking to one reporter at a time. So it was a wise use of my time, and it worked out fine.
So the case is closed. It's done. Everything's wrapped up.
Yeah, they announced that, that there would be no charges against Eli, and that he's a hero and he saved a lot of lives. So that's the end of it as far as any potential prosecution against Eli, which we all knew. At the same time, I mean, police have to investigate these very thoroughly, because at the end of the day, it's a homicide. A homicide is the intentional killing of a human being. Did Eli Dicken in the mall that day commit a homicide? Yes. The question is, was it illegal and justified homicide that in fact saved lives because he was defending other people, or was it a crime of some sort? And, homicides can be murder, they can be manslaughter, they can be a number of things. So the investigation was all about treating a homicide as a homicide and making sure that there was a thorough evaluation of exactly what happened. And so we knew the outcome, and we knew that all along that Eli was a hero who saved countless lives. But it's nice to have an official announcement to that effect, because the Johnson County prosecutor has also reviewed the police investigation results and concluded exactly that. So that puts an end to it. As far as that goes, I've had people ask me about, well, what about potential civil liability? Could the family of the deceased bad guy come back and sue Eli? And that's where I'm very proud. In 2019, after defending or representing another hero named Kisty Phillips, who saved the life of a police officer by shooting a guy who was trying to murder the police officer after a traffic stop that unfolded right in her front yard down in Rising Sun, Indiana. Well, that deceased bad guy's family did sue the hero in that case. And it was a traffic stop where a police officer was being attacked by a guy high on several different drugs, including meth. Kisty saw this happening right outside front of her house. She ran out there, saved the police officer's life, who was about to get shot with his own gun, and then got sued for it by the family of the deceased bad guy. That case in 2019 we used as momentum and really sort of as a poster child to have a new statute passed in Indiana called the Self-Defense Immunity Act, which is just what it sounds like. If you act lawfully in defending yourself or defending a third person, you have absolute civil immunity for that. If you get sued for that, the case can be dismissed very early, and you get a recovery of 100% of your attorney's fees. So I wrote that bill. Jim Lucas fought for it in the General Assembly along with many other legislators, including Jerry Torr and others. We got it passed in 2019. So the answer to the question now is, well, does Eli have to worry about getting sued?
Civil?
Is absolutely not, because if somebody's dumb enough to file that lawsuit, we'll get it dismissed and we'll put some money in Eli's pocket in terms of a mandatory attorney's fee award. So that was nice to have that arrow in our quiver as we're wrapping this thing up.
Is Eli going to do any? Is he going to speak on his own? I know that you've been doing all of the speaking for him. Is he going to do any interviews? Because I know when this first happened, everybody was calling him.
Oh yeah, well I was
from Tucker Carlson down to Casey Daniels.
I was fielding all those calls, including I got 4 or 5 calls from Sean Hannity's producer.
Right.
And I kept saying no, and that Eli wasn't going to talk. And in fact, I wasn't going to talk either, because I said I wasn't going to make public statements until the police investigation was over.
Well, now
that just happened yesterday.
Right.
And actually Sean Hannity called me and was somewhat offended that we wouldn't come on his show, either Eli or me. Obviously, they wanted Eli more than they wanted me. But the answer to the question is, as of right now, no. Eli wants to go back to his life, man. He's a hardworking guy. He wants to put it behind him. Because it's a big thing. I mean, it's we all want to pat him on the back and call him a hero because
I'm
that's
sure mentally and
appropriate.
emotionally he's dealing with a lot as well.
He's taken a human life,
and
for someone who values human life as Eli does, that's a big thing. And everyone, I've represented 6 people now who have taken a life in self-defense or defense of other people. They're all heroes. They all did exactly what they were called upon to do under the circumstances. But it's very, very traumatic for all of them, and it feels a little odd when you're going through this. And I know this from each of my clients, having said it. I represented the gentleman who was at the Kroger at 71st and Georgetown, who defended his coworkers and himself from an armed robber, and he said, people want to buy me a beer and pat me on the back and celebrate. And he goes, I don't want to celebrate. It's the worst day of my life, and I wish it never happened.
Right. They probably want to forget it. Yeah. Okay, we've got to get to news really quick. And also, part 2 of my conversation with Jeff Samuelian is on the way, where we talk about Jim Irsay and the Colts. I also ask him about Elon Musk and what's happening with the Big Ten. Lots of things. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you, just really, really quick, Guy. When you do a press conference like that, do you ever go back and watch yourself and grade your performance? Or do you just put it behind you and move on?
No, I mean, I don't second guess, but I always try to use them as a little bit as a learning experience. I mean, I usually on Sunday morning, my wife and I will put the podcast to my radio show on, and I'm sitting there and I'm counting ums and ers, and I'll use the wrong word. I meant this word and I used that word, and you critique a little bit, but I try to use it more as a learning experience to say, okay, if you don't have a word, don't say
Yeah, always
just
trying to
shut
improve.
up and until you have the word, right?
Get that verbal pause.
Yeah, and so there are little learning experiences I try to draw out of it, but I don't second guess anything. It's like selling stock, man. Once it's sold, I don't look back. But no, they can be definitely learning experiences. The one yesterday I was very relaxed for because, one, I've been living with this case for a long time. It's my subject matter. But the other is because it was completely impromptu. I didn't really know it was going to happen. So there was certainly no opportunity to get nervous. But I've never really been nervous about public speaking. I've always actually enjoyed it. I think I might be a little bit of a ham who likes hearing himself talk too much.
And on that note, we're going to take a break. It is the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Updated COVID vaccines are here, just in time for the season that brings us all closer. Just in time for added protection against the original COVID virus and Omicron. Just in time for crowded stores and great big family dinners. Updated COVID protection is here. And if you haven't had a vaccine since September, it's time to give yourself the gift of updated protection. Find updated COVID vaccines at vaccines.gov. We can do this. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
Just how cold? I'm Kurt Darling. Here's what's trending at 11:30. Some call it a bomb cyclone, others a major winter weather event. Either way,
the big feature of this storm is going to be that incredibly cold air that's settling in, not just to the northern plains, which is where it currently is, but across most of the country. Hundreds of millions of folks are going to see this. Temperatures will feel like -30 in Columbus, -30 in Chicago.
Fox's Adam Klotz. A winter weather watch will be out tomorrow for much of Indiana. Ukrainian President Zelensky will be addressing Congress at 7:30 tonight. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi invited him to speak to a joint session in person. It'll take place in the House chamber. She said in a letter to Zelensky that Ukrainian freedom fighters have inspired the world with an iron will and an unbreakable spirit. I'm Kurt Darling, on the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com.
Hey, Dr. Elsperman. I believe one of the best ways to invest in a community is to encourage participation in high school sports.
I agree, Paul. High school sports can play a tremendous role in student athletes obtaining their first degree in life, a high school diploma. Ivy Tech Community College also plays a role by serving more than 70,000 Indiana high school students who are earning college credit while finishing high school.
High school athletics are all about setting students up for success in the classroom and in life, and that's especially important, considering less than 7% of student athletes play sports in college and even fewer receive scholarships.
At Ivy Tech, thousands of high school students complete their freshman year of college or first industry credential, giving them a head start on college and careers.
We appreciate the support of partners like Ivy Tech who invest in our student athletes, their education, and our communities.
This is championing education. This is investing in your community. This is your IHSAA.
Are you still looking for the perfect holiday gift? You know what I'm talking about. The one that gets passed around the room and you hear a lot of oohs and ahs? Then come to Shane Company. We put so much love and care into the fine jewelry we create. Our classic styles are true treasures. With our expertise and attention to detail, they can be handed down to the next generation and look as beautiful as the day you bought them. They're a great investment. We have diamond tennis bracelets, classic solitaire pendants, and styles with cultured pearls. Our diamond stud earrings make a wonderful holiday gift because they'll never lose that amazing sparkle. We have a wide range of shapes and carat weights to choose from, so it'll be easy to find studs in your price range. We also offer studs in a variety of colorful gemstones. And with Shane Company's generous upgrade policy, you can upgrade your studs at any time. Visit us in store or shop online and enjoy free 2-day shipping. It's never too late to give a gift they'll treasure forever.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Want to save 25 to 75% on your diamond? Come see Pierce Jewelers in Carmel before you spend your hard-earned money somewhere else. Shop local, shop smart, shop Pierce Jewelers.
Emmer and Nigel here, inviting you to join us as we kick off the weekend every Friday around 5:45 with Beer Sample Friday, brought to you by our friends at Thompson Furniture and Mattress in Columbus.
Puccini's 707 locations. Puccini's Pizza Pasta.com. Puccini's 707 locations. Puccini's Pizza Pasta.com. Found
founded right here in Indianapolis in 1991 and winner of the World Pizza Championships in Parma, Italy.
Puccini's outside locations. Puccini's Pizza Pasta.com.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Caroling, now we go. Christmas.
You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC, and Jeff Smullian's joining me in the studio, CEO of MS Communications. All right, Jeff, you've got this book out called Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down, and it's funny, it's insightful, but I want to ask you some questions that aren't relative to the book.
Fire away.
And these are just based on your life experience. So you're on the board of USC,
right?
And you played a role in their impending entrance to the Big Ten. So
right.
I'm hoping you'll talk about that and where college athletics is going with super conferences and NIL.
Yeah, and I spent about 3.5 years basically trying to figure out what we did with the Pac-12. The Pac-12 had fallen so far behind the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference that originally my goal was to merge the Pac-12 and the Big Ten, but the Big Ten really only wanted USC and to bring UCLA along. I think in the future, I think you're probably going to have 2 super conferences. I think the Big Ten will probably add 3 or 4 more schools. If I had to guess, I'd say Notre Dame, Oregon, Washington, and Stanford. I think the ACC will add more schools. I'm sorry, the SEC, probably Florida State, Miami, and Clemson, and North Carolina, things like that. And most of the impact will be in those 2 conferences. The problem is there's just a lot of money. And there's so much money that college football is America's second most popular sport. So when the NFL gets $15 billion a year for TV and college football gets $3 billion a year with, a significantly higher preference, then there's no question college football is going to get more. And as you get 2 major conferences, they're able to capture more of that money.
You think Notre Dame will go into the Big Ten?
I think at the end of the day, they probably will, although it depends on their negotiations with NBC. I think if NBC gives them so much money, they may stay out. And they have sort of a half arrangement with the ACC. But I think most of it's going to occur in those 2 big conferences. And then when you get to NIL, it is the Wild West. 5 years ago, if a kid did a charity and signed autographs for that charity, he was in danger of suspension. Well, today, that same kid could get $2 million a year over the table, and everybody says, oh, it's fine. There'll have to be some regulation of NIL.
Yeah, but right now it's the Wild West.
It's the Wild West. You can get anything. Anybody can get anything. And with transfer portals and NIL, there are just no standards.
Yeah. Speaking of that, okay, so you started America's first all-sports radio station, the format. Where do you think the cap is for sports? Have we reached the pinnacle with the exception of the NFL?
No, I think sports. I've kiddingly said, I think Karl Marx said, religion is the opiate of the masses. Today, sports is the opiate of the masses. This is what we care about. I think as the world gets more complicated, sports is a place we sort of
escape to.
We escape to. We escape to it, and people care passionately about it. And I think when I started WFAN, everybody thought it was crazy. I have a chapter in the book called, I have a favorite saying, the line between being a genius and an idiot is very fine. So I talked about starting sports radio, and I went from idiot to genius because the thing worked. Even though for the first 18 months, it was kind of a disaster. Jim Lampley called it the Vietnam War of MS, and I think people in the office called it Smullian's Folly. And then one day it worked. We got Don Imus, we got Mike and the Mad Dog, we switched frequencies, and then I went from idiot to genius. And then I went right from there to buying the Seattle Mariners, where I was the boy wonder, signing autographs everywhere, on TV all the time. And so I was a genius, and then when the thing didn't work, then I was an idiot. So I've seen both sides of life.
Okay, now speaking of the Seattle Mariners, can you relate to how Jim Irsay feels, and does that have any effect on team management? And also, what's your perspective on owning a Major League franchise with an angry fan base?
Well, I've lived it. And I've
so
said,
that's why we're asking you.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, listen, although the general fans were pretty good to me, we had some press that was tough, but I think nobody loves sports owners, and I know Jimmy well, I know Herb well. One of my favorite lines is my friend Tom Werner, who at that time owned the Padres, now is an owner of the Boston Red Sox, and he had made a quote where he said, rather than spend the money, $10 million more to finish third in the National League West, maybe I'd spend $10 million less and give that $10 million to cancer research. Well, that may be a perfectly rational statement, but it was a firestorm. What do you mean you're not spending all the money you can? So I think nobody loves sports owners, and everybody has an opinion. And I think it's a challenging position. I can empathize with Herb. I can empathize with Jim. Jim's had a very tough year this year. But if you do this long enough, you're going to have tough years.
Yeah. Is it because nobody likes the owner because there has to be a bad guy when things go wrong?
Yeah, everybody points to the boss and says, hey, it's got to be his fault. Not my fault. I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
So, and these are tough decisions. You can say they're going to pick Carson Wentz, and if he's great, you're a genius, and if he's not great, you're an idiot. That's kind of life.
Jeff Simoleon is joining us, and we're talking about his book, Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down. And you're about to be honored and inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame. And with your long, influential career in broadcasting, I have to ask you, and this is a more serious subject.
Okay.
What do you hope will be the intersection between media and government going forward?
Well, I'm a big believer, as Thomas Jefferson said, without a free press, you have, if I could choose between a democracy and a free press, give me a free press. I can't remember the exact quote. You absolutely have to have a watchdog. You absolutely have to have people with the unfettered ability to say what they think and hold government an account. I get very depressed about the state of the newspaper industry because it's very hard to have investigative reporters and the staffs that we used to have. And I've had both Republicans and Democrats said, if there's not a newspaper that's a vibrant industry, who's going to hold us in check? So you really have to have, I'm a fanatical believer in a free press.
Even if you don't agree with the politics?
Yeah.
For example, WIBC.
Yeah, absolutely. It was well known my politics are different than the politics in WIBC.
Sure.
And I felt very strongly that there was a place and that people had the right to express opinions, which clearly were different from my own. And I respect that. Always have.
In entrepreneurship, there's always ups and downs.
Right.
And what advice would you give someone that is starting out? And conversely, what advice would you give to someone who isn't starting out, like Elon Musk?
Well, that's a great question,
Heavy
Casey.
sigh.
Yeah, heavy sigh.
How much time do we have?
Yeah, well, we're going to need a few more hours. As far as starting out, find something you love. Do something you love, because to succeed, you're going to need a couple things. Number, you're going to need to work hard. And the only way to work hard is to care about what you do. I've always said I love media, so it was my hobby as well as my job. And you're also going to need some luck. I can say, I have a favorite saying, if any one of 10 things that happen, my company would be 100 times bigger. If any one of 10 other things that happened, I would be sweeping streets somewhere. So I've had a very, very fortunate life. But I think it's persistence. It's love what you do. I've developed a saying that we're all the entrepreneurs of our own lives. We are in charge of our own lives. Some people like to be entrepreneurs. Some people don't. I've always kidded and said, I'm an entrepreneur because I'm not hireable in a free society.
Have to be my own boss.
Yeah. As far as the Twitter escapade, I can't quite figure out what he's doing.
Yeah.
It seems like they change it every day, every hour. I just saw yesterday that he said if the vote is that you want me to step down, I'll step down. So I'm not quite sure. I have enough trouble running my own business. I can't figure out what the heck he's doing.
Would you ever have allowed someone to vote on whether you should step down from your own company?
That's a great question. Haven't thought about that one. No, Probably not. Probably not.
One last question with Jeff Smulyan. You've managed some very high-profile people like Ken Griffey Jr., Don Imus, you mentioned him, also David Letterman. Can you instantly tell that someone has stardust, or is that learned?
Well, I mean, listen, you could listen to David Letterman on the air and know instantly. There were so many crazy stories with Dave. I'm looking at the monument, and one day he announced that the city of Indianapolis had sold the monument to Guam, and they had replaced it with a 300-foot celery stalk. And people called him and said, "How could you can't get rid of the monument?" And David said, "Yeah, but we need more greenery downtown." Another time, I'll never forget, I came back from lunch, and a guy said, "Letterman's a communist." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, I called in and said, there's communists all over Carmel." And you know what he said? I said, "No, I don't know what he said." He said, "You got to give them Carmel. The roads are always torn up. Their football team's lousy. You can never find a good parking space. So give the communists Carmel and let them hold the line at Nora." So David would just do crazy stuff. You knew that David was brilliant. Yeah, the same with Ken Griffey. The first time you watched Ken Griffey hit, you knew he was a superstar.
Yeah.
Certain people just have natural, God-given talents that it's impossible to get away from.
Well, you are one of the perennial broadcasters in the country, and of course, definitely throughout the state of Indiana. Anybody who's done any sort of time in media has heard of you. And before we say goodbye, Jeff Smulyan, I would like to ask, is there like a monthly or an annual meeting between, say, you and John Dilley from Federated Media, or Sarkis Tarzian, or even Arthur Angotti, the Indiana guys get together and decide how the state's going to look?
John has been one of my dear friends forever.
Yeah.
When I started, he was sort of just a few years older than me, but sort of like a big brother to me. We joke, he lives in Elkhart, I live here. I said he's the only person I would drive midway to Peru to have lunch with, which we do. One of my favorite people, and I knew Art very well, thought the world of him, know Tom Tarzian. So we, it's a kind of a tight-knit fraternity.
Yeah.
And broadcasters kind of love other broadcasters.
Yeah. Thank you very much for spending some time with us.
Thanks, Casey. This has been delightful.
The book is called Never Ride a Roller Coaster Upside Down by Jeff Smulyan, and it is available on Amazon right now. You're listening to the Kendall and Casey Show on 93 WIBC.
Coming up on the Hammer and Nigel Show, everything you need to know about the winter storm headed our way, how to get home safe. We'll be talking to Wish TV meteorologist. Plus, we'll go off the rails with Rob Kendall. That's at 3 o'clock, 93 WIBC.
Hey, we're pretty social people at WIBC. You can find us all over social media. See what we're up to on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and on YouTube. We're never more than just away. Just search for 93 WIBC.
It's Rob Kendall for my incredible friends at Life Church. By now, most of you know friend of the show, Pastor Micah Beckwith. And most of you are aware, in addition to being a trusted conservative fighter, he's also part of the Life Church community that would love to welcome you and your family. They've got 4 campuses, including Noblesville, Fishers, Eagle Creek, and Pendleton, plus online services. Learn more about Micah, Nathan, and the rest of Life Church by visiting their website at lifechurchin.com.
If your anniversary is coming up or you're thinking about proposing, you need to come to Barrington Jewels. Our incredible selection of engagement rings has made us the premier choice over the past 20 years. You'll find the finest quality, craftsmanship, and value on diamonds and breathtaking gemstones of all kinds, including environmentally friendly, lab-grown diamonds of all sizes and shapes. And when you need service and repair, we have Indy's quickest turnaround at the lowest prices. Barrington Jewels, East 82nd Street at Clearwater Crossing.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel vPro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
AES Indiana is dedicated to providing you with smart energy solutions that power our lives. Our energy efficiency programs help you save energy and money, from rebates on lighting and smart thermostats to appliance pickup and recycling. You can take advantage of cleaner, more cost-effective energy solutions right here, right now. To get more information on how to save money on your energy bill this winter, visit aesindiana.com. AES Indiana, we are accelerating the future of energy together.
Join Mark Patrick Seminars and stop smoking now without cravings, irritability, weight gain, or your money back.
Totally changed my life.
It's amazing. I don't have any cravings. You want to quit, but have found it impossible? This is the thing for you. I have absolutely no craving. It's the darndest thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's not for entertainment. It's for results.
Do it. It works. Period.
You've tried everything else. You need to come and try this.
Only $49.99 guaranteed. No irritability, no cravings, because don't just cut down, but stop smoking once and for all. In addition, use hypnosis to lose all the weight and destroy unwanted cravings. Seminars are Thursday, January 19th at the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Noblesville. Weight loss seminar 5:30 p.m. Stop smoking seminar 8 p.m. Or Saturday, January 21st at the Holiday Inn Indianapolis Airport. Weight loss seminar 11 a.m. Stop smoking seminar 2 p.m. Sign up at markpatrickseminars.com. That's markpatrickseminars.com.
If you run a small business, you need the most from every investment. That's why Comcast Business gives you more. Like more innovation with our new gig speed Wi-Fi, plus unlimited data. More speed from the largest, fastest, reliable network for small businesses. And more savings, up to 60% a year with Comcast Business Mobile. All from the company that powers more businesses than any other provider. When you need more, you need Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Get started with internet and advanced security for just $40 per month for 12 months with no annual contract when you add mobile. Plus, ask how to get a $750 prepaid card with a qualifying gig bundle. Ends 1/1/2023. Restrictions apply. Actual speeds vary. Compare pricing of top carriers. Requires EcoBill and AutoPay. Comcast Business Internet required. New Comcast Business 100 megabits per second internet and security edge customers only. Equipment, taxes, and other fees extra and subject to change. Must add mobile within 90 days of internet install and keep services for 12 months for discount. Results vary. Not an endorsement.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis has been solving garage door problems for 33 years. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today.
There's a lot of sexy content on the internet. And there's WIBC. Full of faces meant for radio. Hammer and Nigel. Kendall and Casey. Okay, Casey could be on TV. Now streaming every day on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/WIBC.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
11:52 with the Kendall and Casey show on 93 WIBC. Guy Relford is in for Rob Kendall today. So, Guy, there's this woman who broke into Robert De Niro's place and stole presents from under his tree while he was sleeping upstairs. Now, keep in mind, she was already wanted for a string of burglaries. It was her 26th time being arrested. Wow. Just another example of catch and release. But that's not what we're going to talk about. I'm curious that if Robert De Niro had woken up while this woman had broke into his house and was stealing the Christmas presents from under his tree, what were his rights? What could he have done? Yeah. Talk to me about the castle doctrine.
You bet. And let's apply Indiana law to this.
Perfect.
Since it's happened in New York on the Upper East Side, and I'm certainly not a New York attorney. By the way, my first thought upon reading this story, Casey, is that clearly this woman has not seen the movie Heat. Because there's some serious firepower being thrown around in that movie by Robert De Niro.
Yes.
But the way the castle doctrine works, and the reason we call it the castle doctrine, is that it simply allows you to defend your home. In Indiana, the wording actually says you can use reasonable force, including deadly force, to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into or attack on your dwelling. Now it goes on from there, but we'll leave it there for this discussion. So I can use deadly force, meaning kill someone or seriously injure them, simply to either prevent or terminate an unlawful entry into my home. What makes the castle doctrine different than other provisions of Indiana's self-defense statute is that I don't have to establish that I feared getting hurt myself, or that I was defending the life or the health of another person and defending someone, including myself, from serious bodily injury. That tends to be the standard outside your home. I have to be defending someone from serious injury. We call it serious bodily injury or death or the commission of what we call a forcible felony. That's outside the home. Inside the home, if someone's illegally in my home.
This was a cat burglar.
Yeah, now again, they have to be illegally in my home. When are they not illegally in my home? When I invited them, or when their name's on the lease, or something along those lines. But if they're illegally in my home, they broke in, then I can use deadly force. In Indiana, and by the way, I say broke in, it doesn't require physically breaking anything. Like some states have.
Like the door jamb doesn't have to be off the frame or
right,
window shattered.
And in some states it does, but not in Indiana. And if they illegally enter my home, which means they enter my home without my permission, then I can use reasonable force up to and including deadly force. And that comes into play a lot. But it's specifically because I don't have that necessity of proving I feared injury or death myself before I defend my home is why we call it the castle doctrine. You can simply defend your castle up to and including deadly force.
I wonder what she was trying to get from Robert De Niro. She must have thought there was something good under that Christmas tree.
Well, yeah, I mean, I got to believe he's got something pretty good under the Christmas tree in Robert De Niro's house. I don't know. But at the same time, you think of Robert De Niro, I mean, whether he is in real life or not is a separate question, but you think of him as being kind of a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
If not a mafioso type, who's probably got several firearms stashed about
you know what?
his
he
place
was
in New
sleeping
York.
Upstairs. He probably had a CPAP machine on.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
He had the eye mask going. And
he's got the old man routine up going on upstairs.
He didn't hear a thing. He didn't even know that woman was there.
Yeah, no doubt. But she's good for her. She's only going to jail. She didn't sacrifice her life for breaking into someone's home.
Well, she was only arrested for the 27th time this time. Thank you guys so much for coming in and joining me today.
My pleasure.
Good job, Kevin. Thank you so much. I hope you both have a wonderful and Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for listening. Merry Christmas to you. It's 93 WIBC.
This is Mark Chester from Marshall Mechanical. On behalf of Eric Marshall and our whole team at Marshall Mechanical, we would like to wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. If you have a home heating emergency during the holidays, please feel free to give us a call at 317-738-5940 or find us online at callthemarshallnow.com.
Marshall Mechanical is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Gather near and bring the cheer this holiday season. Dazzle and delight the love of your life with a gift from Helzberg Diamonds. Don't miss great prices on stunning diamond studs, tennis bracelets, gemstone rings, and the year's must-have look, gold jewelry for stacking and layering. There's still time to gift and save. Get half-carat total weight diamond studs for $399.99, a savings of $300. Visit Helzberg.com or a store near you. Limited time offer while supplies last. See online or in-store for details.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us.